Hello, everyone. Welcome to Here He Goes Again, the podcast show. Oh, well, not podcast show, but the second episode of the live stream. And I'm quite happy to be getting this far ahead into the show where we can actually get a second person. And hold on, because I kicked him off. Anyway. So, yeah, so welcome everyone for coming onto the podcast, or suppose the live stream is episode 2. Come on. We're going to be talking about a few things today. There we go. I'm sorry for kicking you off. Come on. There he is. There he is. Nate. Hello.
Ah, yes. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. So just started the podcast or the episode. Why did I call it a podcast? I'm still thinking of the other thing. But we're going to cover a few things today because I've named the show Is Britain Ready for Change? So today we're going to be really focusing on what's really happening in the UK. There's a few things that's been going on for the last couple of weeks, although I haven't made a podcast, live stream in a while. There's been a lot of things that's been going on. And I think now Britain's at a state where it's about to see quite a lot of change. Now, if it's not been obvious to anyone already, we've obviously got the Labour government that's been elected, and, let's say they've done a few things. Isn't that right, Nate?
Oh, it's been right. But there's nothing they couldn't have done worse.
See this guy? See him? He's so negative about the government. Honest to God, they're such lovely people. I mean, it's not like the police is going to come down to this door anytime soon. It's fine. But of course, you just changed your picture, didn't you?
I did not change any picture. I have no idea what you're on about.
Okay, that's fine.
That's just a selfie I took yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So I'd like everyone to welcome what was known as Razmataz, but he's changed his picture now to Nate Higgers. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well. It's been a great time. I've really been pumping out the content on my channel. If I could plug a video, if that's fine.
Should be okay.
There's a video called the Crippled Women Appreciation Organization that is on my channel. I think you should watch that. Only that one. Watch that one and then don't go back on my account ever again.
Great. I am trying to keep my channel alive, of all things, but that's already disturbing enough.
I can assure you, it is an amazing video. Genuinely, watch it, never go again, and then stay on this channel forever.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, for everyone who doesn't live in this country, it's been going down the hill very, very fast. And trying to make content in time with the latest bit of bad or negative news is absolutely impossible. And
you do genuinely just get swamped by it all. Like, we were going to talk about like the tariffs, and then just 7 more things happened in like 2 days. It just really, like, you can't catch it all. So much is happening.
It's almost overloading, even from last year, which I thought was quite odd. Because last year you could like get over a week's news, but then after one day, it's almost pointless making, say, a video about one thing, and then you're like, oh, that's all just became irrelevant because something else has happened 2 minutes later. and you're like, oh, come on.
You can't keep ahead of it. You've got to pick your battles. That's what it is. You've got to pick which one you want to talk about, and
Mm,
you kind of have to ignore the rest, unfortunately.
mm. And I think more than ever, I think everyone's starting to feel the pinch a little bit, to be fair.
Yes.
It's even for me up here, which is a completely different end of the country than what England is. You can feel how bad it's getting. And for me, that's in Edinburgh or another part of Scotland, and you're living in England. You can tell things are going to shit. But how far it goes to shit, I don't want to be too negative about it, but we're already seeing prospects of a civil war of all things.
Bro, I am actually like so looking forward to that.
Really?
It's probably the only solution. I think Rupert Law. Okay, I'm a big Rupert. I'm his top guy. I'm his top
Mm.
kitten. I think he's the only real like peaceful solution. And if Rupert Law fails in his glorious conquest, then I think the civil war is the only real option we've got.
Well, I wasn't going to bring the Civil War up completely, but I thought, well, we did have what was it, that one interview that was done by, what was the professor's name again? He was, um, there we go, just find his name before I say it. No, we had a Professor David Betts. He's the one who's been going down the. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, David Betts. He's the one who's been going down the social media channels and interviews talking about civil war possibly happening in the country. Now, from the way he explains it, it's probably very real. And for me, who looks at military a lot, this is like it's going to be an absolute bath, like bloodbath. Now, how it would go would only just determine, what exactly happens, if that makes sense.
Aye.
Because I think there's only a few things that could ever happen to make the country go into a state of civil war that would be absolutely devastating. But I think one of the key factors he pointed out was ethnicity. And I think everyone in England and Scotland starting to feel the pinch of other minorities away from the indigenous Celtic and Anglo populations. And that's starting to build tensions up, especially in areas that have real lack of, I wouldn't say diversity, but a lack of multi-ethnic inclusion. So multi-ethnic minorities all being in the same community and working along with each other. There's elements of ethnic enclaves, and for what he's used as the Mao revolution phase, or how that started with Mao in China, we're on like basically stage 2. But we can talk all about that stuff later on, unless you want to something now before we go into woke stuff.
No, we can move right on.
Okay. Let's try and get this on the screen. That would help. Come on. There we go. Let's try and get us there too. There we go. So, for anyone who's been following me on my own social media pages, I thank you all because we've jumped from, what was it, 250 people to 804 within the case of 2 months or 3 months.
Bro's popping off.
Yeah, so I do thank you for the videos I've already posted already, but most of that comes from the people who watched, I believe, if I can see it, we don't need to play the sound, but oh me, this one here. This one's got the most attention, the the right is overreacting and the left is overreacting. This is covering the situation of the Tesla cars getting burnt by leftists because Elon Musk is an establishment person that works for Donald Trump, and the one way to justify it is by burning his cars, which gives the people who have the cars the insurance they need to buy another car.
I liked when they were like painting like swastikas on them.
Oh, they
That's what
still,
I was really
yeah,
funny. Because
they're
when I
still,
do that,
they're
I get
still
called a
doing that.
Nazi, but you know.
I know they're still doing it, and for this one post, it's gone out of the way to go absolutely mental. Like, I don't know if you saw the number just before I cut it off. This one post has 41K likes and 5,000 comments. That's in comparison to other videos where this one was Lotus Eaters talk about the ninja swords, which only had 39. Me not liking that Galley, somebody I don't care about. You know, the socialist guy?
I don't think I do actually.
He's Gary Stevenson, I think. You might see it better there. He's the guy who's been going on the social media and like question time and all that.
Ah, yes, yeah.
He's been going down saying the system's against you, but buy my book. It's
The
like
system's against you. Please buy into the system to get my book.
exactly, and I'm like, you fucking hypocrite. Like, he's like one of these really, like, this is the thing. I know everyone's talking about Gary Stevenson, bringing him on the shows because that gives you clicks. That's the point they bring him on because he's raging and. But this guy's actually made of a lot of money. He worked for a publishing firm, has money in stocks, but because he's got an English working class accent and puts a hoodie on, he's one of us, the working class.
He's LARPing as the poor.
Yeah, and he's got a publishing thing for Penguin. Penguin is a publishing firm in the UK which has a lot. You've got to be a lot of money to be, you know, getting books made by Penguin. I can't mind how big Penguin is as a firm. Let's see, how big is
It has to be
Penguin?
the biggest in Britain. All of the big ones I see are from Penguin.
Well, that was in Waterstones, and that's one of the biggest. In comparison, I'll find it just now. Like I say, I'm not really Palison to others. Like, I'm not a big fan of him because all he does is spew out socialist Marxist propaganda. He says, "You're suffering. We know that. Feel poor about it. But as long as I can trick you, buy my book." Because I don't think any of us can make a book and sell it on Penguin. Of all things. In comparison, why can I not find the comparison? It's quite big.
So what's the one next to it? The green climate activist is quite a delusional hypocrite.
Oh, I didn't realize that. This was a woman that was. I didn't realize I clicked off for that. This was a woman that was on climate change activist that went on to GB News. This is when Dan Wootton was on, so it's a bit older. But I've got so much content on the phone. I'm like, I might as well get rid of it. But we could watch it. It does get it gets a bit insufferable, although this is old, but might as well. But back to what I was saying there, Penguin's basically one of the biggest publishing firms in Britain and one of the oldest. 1935. So it's quite old. And for you to get a deal with them Well, he worked as a publisher for years. So he's saying, I've suffered too. You fucking haven't. You might have had a bit of mental delusion because of your socialism and so on, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you're suffering. I think
It's
there's
like
a
when Jews change their surnames to try and like seem more white, to try and trick people into thinking like they're one of us.
I've seen that too. There was a guy that was called Peter Zine something, and everyone who's quite anti-Semitic was getting quite upset because they were like, "Oh, Peter, he's a white guy we like, and he's got a Jewish name." Okay. I mean, I have nothing against the people, but there's a point to be made, but you can't be, too extreme. But whatever. I've seen that too. What you were saying, they changed their name to sound better, and I'm like, it doesn't work. It never
Nah,
does.
we find out too quickly.
We will find out in any form, but let's try and see what this thing is.
You live according to the documents that have been filed, and you only have an energy rating of D.
I don't even know what address you've got. I've moved house quite a lot. It doesn't even. Again,
Well,
why are we talking about?
Well, you were arrested, and it was the dress that was
Code Red for Humanity, IPCC report, and we're talking about the place that one of the places I've lived. Like,
have
do
you
not
properly
understand
insulated your own home?
The place I'm living at the moment, I believe it's properly insulated, but I'm not sure. Like,
do you not
Red
understand?
for Humanity.
Do you not understand how ridiculous that sounds, Gabby? There's no point just repeating the same catchphrase over and over again. Do you not understand how ridiculous it sounds that you are literally stopping people getting to hospital appointments and potentially causing deaths because you want the government to insulate everyone's home, but you haven't properly insulated your own home?
I for what it's worth, I do believe the place that I am.
You get the point now?
Yeah, she's completely. Like, the problem these people have is they don't want to do it themselves. They want the government to do it for them.
Which would be against leftist ideology in itself, to be fair. But they've gone so far over to their delusion realm, it doesn't make any sense, to be fair.
It's also entirely possible, obviously, with her being a woman, that she just doesn't understand his point and that she can't see the hypocrisy.
She does go a lot further on, but this is when we had a good time when Dan Wooten was on. Someone who was actually good on GB, but then GB News isn't the path for free speech anymore. But we've also got Jay Hughes that's joining on. So let's add you on. Why can I not add you on? Save. Come on, add him on.
Yo,
no, that's fine. There we go. You've changed your name, have you? I thought it was
yes,
something.
I have.
I was going to say. I was looking at it. I was like, why is Jay Hughes on? I was like, this is still same name.
Oh, Jay Hughes. Oh no, my name's Jade Hughes. It's
Right.
Jade. Yeah.
Right, Jade Hughes, because that last name didn't work. It's still Razmataz, but it's fine. Yeah, no, I did think, I was like, I'm looking at that, I'm like, why does it look different? But whatever.
I thought we were getting another guest.
So did I, but I was like, no, it's you. You just changed your name when I looked back. Like, anyway, what were we on about? No, I think you are live because she thinks she can just get it handed to her, it would be fine. But I mean, like I said, this was an old show because this is Dan Wooten back when GB News had free speech. So it's good the channel's actually getting a lot of viewership and a lot of content and lots of clicks in that, which is good. There's some of these I would like to play on here, but some of them take too long. The aim would be to, well, like I say, thanks for everyone who's on. 804. That's quite good to actually grow that from this, but all I need to do is, to be fair, is to start making my own content, to be fair. And I don't really do that much because if you can see my face in that video there, that's got 209 with no comments. Just saying the TikTok was deleted. 2,000 people were deleted from my old account because I shared this video of Andrew Tate. So I've had enough of that. But even this one, when I was calling out Under One Banner, which is a pro-independent Scottish group, that doesn't get much attention. But even this one, which, no, actually not that one, but even some of these other ones, which I find would actually be a lot more interesting, it just doesn't seem to get the attention. So I need to figure out the algorithm a lot better.
I don't know how John does it, because I know John is like very successful here, but like I look at these videos and there's no racism, there's no anime girls. I sit there thinking, well, why are people watching? Like, what is this? I mean, it's all good giving an in-depth analysis of the Chinese economy, but like what, you know, where's the racial slurs? You know, like
I know.
I have no idea.
I was like, we've got this one where we've actually got positive discrimination against the Irish of all things. And it's, yeah, well, basically the move the Irish, and the Irishman's not too happy about it. But let's listen to that one, because it does affect us in the UK as well. But this is the Irish people. They do support terrorists. Most of them do. Not all of them.
But you know, I'm a very blunt person when it comes to these kind of things. But the last thing I would like to say is, when you look at this history of Irish people 100 years down the line, people from all different kinds of nations, you won't even be able to trace their bloodline to it being Irish or not. All of a sudden, we're going to just be considered Irish. Because Ireland is so young, we're still trying to, we're in this mindset that this whole brown skin or different skin being in on our turf, which is a predominantly white nation, doesn't make sense. And that's fine. You know what? That's fine. But like, this is something that's going to have to be unlearned. You know, Project Pierce, I don't know how long that was, but Project Pierce was in a nation where they were just full of white people. But how did he know Irish people were actually, you know, present in front of him? I'm gonna stop rambling because I'm just getting a bit like I'm getting riled up, but you know what I mean. That would be my response to that statement. Let's drop that. So yeah.
Yeah. I can never imagine another group of people being so disrespectful. You'll never see the Chinese do that. You'll never see the Polish, who have been here for a long time. Never once did they do this. But Africans will come here and try to say there's no such thing as an Irish person. Sit on a Zoom call and say the idea that Ireland belongs to the Irish needs to be unlearned. Picture yourself doing that in any country you move to. And you know what they've done? Is they've imported this kind of thinking where now Irish people in their own homeland have to justify why it should be their homeland. What a ridiculous idea. We have to watch videos of foreigners coming in to our country and telling us there's no such thing as an Irish person. Do you know how insane that is? And it actually doesn't click with people until someone calls it out.
And that happens over here as well.
It's just foreigners trying to take over, really. That is what it boils down to.
And it's very annoying in its own sense, because we do get the feeling that the country's getting invaded, especially in England, where you've got hundreds of boats getting across the channel with people that we don't even know about. But even saying that is too extreme for people to understand. And it's infuriating. So the idea of a civil war is probably going to happen sooner than later, because we've got literal radical change happening in this country. And there's I would say a lot of people just don't want to accept what's going on, to be fair.
They hope if they bury their head in the sand, it'll go away. Or the bad sides will just disappear.
Yeah, it just won't exist. And the only way that ever works is, well, you live as far north as the country as you can, where it's you and the sheep and that's it, and a few tourists.
All based.
And it's like you and the sheep and the tourists, and that's all there is. And even as far as Aberdeen, you're starting to see these migrant hotels as well, where there's 2 of them in Aberdeen, and it's like, okay, why have you used an old Hilton hotel, which is empty anyway, but you've gave them scooters. I know this from a security guard that was at the place. They're given free scooters or bike scooters. Some of them have jobs at Deliveroo, although they've not actually passed their whole thing. The what do you call the
driver's license?
No, the validation to be a citizen.
Yeah.
They haven't gone through any of that. They've got vouchers to use at local shops. We've seen a few instances where it gets really nasty, and I've even had an argument at the bus station where I had to argue with a Nigerian boy because he thinks if you shout loud at the bus driver, that means you'll get on. So it's like, fuck you. That just the fact that people are not really who are not integrating that well is making things a lot worse. And I'm being very nice about that, by the way. I'm not even gone to this picture yet, but whatever. But no, go ahead.
There's also just like the very blatant reality that like
so
they are immune to the law.
Clearly.
Sorry.
Like they are immune to the law. They're not going to get arrested. They can do whatever they want. They're not going to get arrested. And you don't even have to break the law, and you're going to get arrested. So there's just a complete lack of trust in the government and the law enforcement. And when people don't trust the law, well, what can they do but enforce the law themselves?
This is where things start getting worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because once you have, once you don't trust the actual authority of the law that's existence, and then you become, it's not private, not even private contractors, but what would you call it? Civilian police laws, civilized police, or
I guess vigilantes would just be the best term.
Yeah, vigilante. That would help. Yeah, and the fact that we're getting a vigilante kind of sense just now, it just kind of it's worrying in its own sense. Let's say that. Because, well, I mean, it's worrying for people who don't know how to handle these situations, but it's fine for everyone else.
Aye.
Because, no, it's just worrying if I have to be fair, because even I'm now making preparations to see if things go bad, because the way, well, I don't think it'll be as bad in Scotland. Say if a civil war kicks off now, it won't really be affecting Scotland as much, but it'll be like in Glasgow, in Edinburgh, the central belt that we call it. That's like there's the neglected north where you've got Aberdeen, Inverness, and the countryside. Nothing's there, no massive infrastructure, anything like that. But even we've got cases in Glasgow where the homeless don't have enough beds to look after the homeless because they've just been given to foreigners or migrants, which is an issue in itself, but we won't talk about that just now. But I think the real problem will be in England. Now, the fact, the reason I say that is because there's a lot more of you, English, and there's a lot more of them. Like, there's a lot more cultural differences. There's a lot more basically security zones, blackout zones, I would call them, to make sure police controlled zones, something like that. Police can't go into areas. They've got to speak to community leaders before they go into certain areas because there's such a mass amount of non-indigenous population in that area. You've actually got to, call them up and say, we're about to raid this house and that kind of stuff. And you're like, how fucking mad does this have to get before we actually take it seriously?
It's because the government have no actual power anymore. Like we saw with the riots, like the government would, like the police were just completely pushed out of cities. They don't have the manpower anymore. They've been bleeding manpower, and it's very likely the military have already said they're not going to get involved. So, Keir Starmer really has nothing he can do to really like crush any like resistance or like any like rebellions or anything. So the only thing they can really do is hope the Muslims win. But even then, like they need police to be there to at least like keep up morale. And the Muslims and we saw at the end of the rise, the Muslims are starting to attack the police as well. So they're gonna find themselves in the middle of both conflicts.
And I think David actually, pardon me, mentioned that himself because he's like, it's going to be based on ethnic groups, and the government's playing with time. That's all they're doing. They're playing with time, and they don't know how this is going to get worse. I could suspect if anything was to happen in the next 5 years, it would be another economic crash, and then we are literally going to start seeing the tougher of the right wing and the tougher of people or men, people who want to take action will take action, regardless if it's good or bad. These people will take action, and whether you like it or not, the country is going to be in a shit state. And I think all it takes is the banks to shut. And there's a chance that will happen because everything in the video I was about to make, the children of men in years and years, is becoming reality, which is a film or a documentary I've been trying to make because literally we're just building steps towards that, two realities in one timeline. This one.
I don't think Keir Starmer's really the kind of man who would back down either.
Well,
like they just seem stubbornly marching towards it.
I mean, to be honest, Labour have been the more authoritarian of the bunch. Even in COVID, they were more wanting to make sure you were shut down more than anything else. Like the Conservatives were, yeah, they were harsh, but they didn't go full on lockdown, to be fair. They could have gone a lot harder than they did, but Labour was willing to keep the oppression Olympics going really far. You saw that in some of the rhetoric when it came to the lockdowns and everything, because they wanted the lockdowns to stay down. If everyone didn't get their jabs, they would lose their jobs, their livelihoods, lose benefits, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's only going to take for the people who will take action, you know, that 10% who feel like they can't do anything, but then if you tell them to do something, they will. It would take it would take that 10%. Now, whether that 10% is what you're on about the Muslims, or if I'm on about the indigenous populations, or community leaders, or someone that's got enough enthusiasm, the media class, and so on, it doesn't matter. Because it only needs that 10% to kick off. And we saw that with Southport, with the riots, where I didn't agree with everything that happened, but you saw them angry. You saw them mad. And it was a conclusion of so many bad policies that was done over the years. And it's all lining up.
Well, it is just the state-funded ethnic like genocide of little girls, really. And I mean, I know it's not just little girls, but like obviously with the 3 girls that were killed, like that was evidently a breaking point. And I think the riots changed a lot. Because I talked to a lot of people, and I know Eternal England. I don't know if you know him, but I know he says like, "Oh, literally nothing happened. It was a nothing burger." And I don't agree. I think the riots were a massive changing point because I think the government knows how fucked it is. I think Keir Starmer knows they can't hold on to power for longer. And I think this is a trend we're seeing not only in England and America, but also in Europe. I mean, what right-wing politician has not been arrested in the EU? Like, I think the left-wing governments and the left in general know that they're grasping onto power now, and if they lose it, they're not getting it back.
Well, we saw that with Le Pen in France, where she was jailed. No, well, not jailed, but she was put under house arrest and fined for something that's actually quite common in the EU Parliament. But the way they went so harsh about it, you're like, okay, they are scared and they're just willing to make this political and harsh as possible.
They're fucked. But I think that is genuinely what it comes down to. They're fucked and they know it.
Yeah. And I think it's getting worse and worse because if I can. Where's that silly video? Because I'm about to publish a video, and as soon as I can get to it, this actually might be the British breaking point. I mean, I do want to move on to another subject, but we might as well until I find this thing because we're going to have to come back to this anyway because we're going to have to talk about what, like, we have to be realistic what's going on, like, in this country. And I think Carl Benjamin said, if you're talking about all these other things, you're not taking what's happening in the UK seriously. And I'm like, he's got a point. I don't agree with him on everything, but he did say if you're arguing about Douglas Murray, what he's saying, instead of what the Labour Party or the government is doing to people in this country, there's a fucking problem.
Was this in his most recent stream? Because I've heard a lot of people talking about it, but I haven't actually gotten around to watching it yet.
Well, we know what Douglas Murray's like, and Dave Smith, he's you've got two people that's on the two ends of that argument, and some of it gets taken out of context because people don't know who Douglas Murray is, because they see him and they see a bit of elitism from him.
Mm.
And then there's Dave Smith, who's been basically critical of Israel, and he's basically been towards near the Hamas camp of all things. But but then he said, like, as a defense, he says, "Oh, I'm a comedian, so you can't take what I'm saying seriously." But like, there's a whole on conversation about what's going on in there.
All I know is I'm a big fan of Israel. I love Israel. I'll defend Israel. The Gazan children had it coming. So big up our Israeli, big up Mossad, okay? Big up Mossad. That's all I have to say about it.
YouTube, that's a joke, by the way. That's a joke. That's not being serious. That's a joke. Where is that bloody video? Because it's actually quite good. Because it would actually show the focal point where this actually gets really bad. Well, it's weird how I can't find the one video I needed.
I think it's Palestine. YouTube doesn't actually want you to support.
I mean, it's, to be fair, it's both of them. Like,
but it's owned by an Indian now, isn't it?
What?
YouTube's owned by an Indian.
Or is the woman not in charge of it anymore?
Well, no, she's dead.
She can't be dead.
No, she is actually dead.
Oh, great.
Susan Wojcicki, yeah, she died. It was a couple of years ago. I just found out recently. But yeah, no, she is actually just dead.
Oh, great.
She died on August 9th, 2024.
Jesus Christ.
So an Indian took the company over, and I mean, we all know what Indians think of Israel.
Not a fan. Are they not a fan?
Oh no, they love Israel.
Do they?
Well, you got to remember they live right next to the Pakistanis, so they love anyone who hates Muslims.
Ah. Oh yeah, that's a country about the start of war of itself, by the way. Give it a few years, they will be at each other's necks. And no one will get the information right about that war. Because if you're talking about the two big intelligence agencies trying to go after each other's necks, you're looking at India and Pakistan. And, well, India's got one of the biggest connections of, like, not high intelligence, but high, I forget some of the words I'm looking to say. There it is. There we go. Couldn't figure out what it was. Come on, silly thing. No, they've got the two biggest. India's got one of the biggest intelligence agencies in the world. So, and they keep a good eye on Pakistan's radical element, like the Islamic groups and all that kind of stuff. So, the fact that because maybe Elon's got a point when you get some of these individuals that are justified of coming over because they've got that high skills. But then there's others where you're just like, no, just do not bring them over here, please. But that's a whole different conversation
Well,
itself.
Indians have a diet of 20% shit.
Well, that would explain the streets, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean,
I don't think you're getting much quality out of them.
I mean, there's some. I do like. There's a few people I know that are Indian. They're actually quite nice. There's actually nothing wrong with them. Well, some of them, but obviously there's a case of some people where it just, things just don't go well at all.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. But anyway, we're going to talk about what's been playing on here for the last. Yeah, you just keep changing his profile, don't you? Anyway, it's not good like it's going to do anything. We're going to talk about some of the good news that happened today before we talk about all the shit about everything else. We heard in the news today that the Supreme Court does know what a woman is. So this video that's been playing, it's been on Spiked, is all the politicians that's not been understanding what a woman is. Because the sentencing was based on something the SNP in Scotland did, where they didn't actually know what a woman was, and they tried to put transgender men, biological men, into women's spaces. And today, the Supreme Court's finally ruled in the favor of women, because you should be basing a woman based on biology, not gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
It depends on, because my co-host, he's actually a little weird about this, because he says there is a distinction between the terms gender and sex. Now, I suppose I'll ask you: do you sort of agree with that, or do you take the more position of it's the same thing?
You might have to say that again.
So is there a distinction between gender and sex?
Gender's more of a label, to be fair. It's more of a label that you give yourself, but you can't change biological sex, because in different animals, they can do the same thing, but they're on different parts of the spectrum. Although I shouldn't be comparing humans to other animals, but you can be a male seahorse, but they're the ones who carry the kids.
Yeah.
But that's a seahorse. But that's a fucking seahorse. I know. Yeah. Everyone's going to comment saying that's a seahorse. We know that's a seahorse.
See, lobsters, okay, we're pulling a Jordan Peterson right here, lads.
No, go ahead.
I think this is a good move. I think this is a good move. I think the only way you can really define a woman is by just saying an adult human female. And of course, a female is an inherently biological term. And I see the trans issue is very. So I follow, obviously, being a weeb. I'm surrounded by a lot of trans people. I'm being really into femboys. I'm surrounded by a lot of trans people, and they all seem very miserable. So I look at them and I just feel really bad, because they've been dealt a really fucking shitty hand. I mean, there's a reason why the incel to trans pipeline is actually real. And I think these people are really fucked over by society, and instead of helping them, the society is just kind of it's just portrayed them by giving them the ability to be trans and then valuing them. Because prior to being trans, these people weren't valued. They were just neglected. So it completely makes sense to me why they're trans. They actually get appreciated. They get attention now. They get what they really should have been given before.
Yeah.
So I think the entire thing is just actually miserable. I'll tell you who I didn't like though. The fucking I'll use the term cis, though I don't like to. Like cis people who like openly support like people being trans. I think that is like fucked up. Because I understand why trans people would do it. I mean, you know, it's their crutch. They're going to defend their crutch. But if you're cis and you're supporting it, like this is hurting people, and you're just valuing your own comfort from not having to deal with it over the actual lives of the people suffering through this.
Yeah, because they're basically the catalyst of helping these trans people go to this gender mutilation of their own bodies to satisfy them, but they're really just wanting you to give them the attention, say, look, I am a good person, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And they're like, think about me, look how good I am, look how nice I am fucking great, I'm so special. And the way that I see it all go, I mean, you're right, they are miserable because there's data to defend that where they actually are one of the most miserable people, but these people, like, there are genuine people who fall into that category where they are trans. They are in the long body and there's something went wrong in the, baby chamber where but they're not 1.5%. They're like 0.001 of the population. But then all these other people that come out, I think you want about all these sad people, but they are trying, like, anyone who doesn't like us saying that, go and tell me without the validation, are you happy? Probably not. But if you can't face that reality, I mean, there's not much help I can do from my point. But, sorry, go.
The problem I think that there is that there is obviously a lot of trans people who are very predatory. And I can't imagine they're actually that much of a majority, because the majority of trans people do just seem like miserable men. So I think most people on the right see the predatory ones and they just sort of assume that the rest of them are also like this, because for most of them I would say it's probably a fetish.
But yes, but it turns into a serious fetish, though.
Yeah.
Like,
but then it means the right are looking at it through a hostile lens instead of a case of like these people need help. It's a case of these people are trying to prey on like other people.
And I think it gets worse and worse when we actually get evidence of predatory trans people who are clearly just abusing their positions to get themselves better off. And we mostly I would say that for the right-wing perspective, most of those people we see that as socialists and communists and anyone who literally is the grifter to gain money, like a grifter to gain attention, a grifter to gain. And you're right, most of these people are the neglected people of society, but someone said, we can give you a label that we will give you all the attention, all the things you need, the help that you need, but we're also going to manipulate you because you're that fragile in the head. Sorry, you are, in a way. Not all the way, but some people are fragile in the head where they're like, we can give you this identity of trans. Not the people who actually are trans, because we neglect all those people. We tell them they're evil, they're right-wing bigots. We're on about real trans people. But everyone else, we can get the attention, the social media clicks. We can give you that attention, where these people are probably just sad, alone, lack of purpose in all forms. They don't have things they can say, I'm happy about myself with this, body shamed, something else, and pushing along the line, you get real horrific positions where it's probably not helped by right-wing audience as well, where you said some people see them as predatory. In a sense, it's correct, in a sense, it's incorrect, but it depends on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, definitely. It does just seem to be like a mental health crisis. And I do think as a general rule, the approach to this should be a case of just treating them like they matter. I think is generally the basis. Just treat these people like they're all incels. They're all like completely abandoned. Just treat them like they matter, and they're not going to go to such extreme lengths to try and get validation.
And I think the people who's giving them validation are really bad people.
Mm-hmm.
They are very nasty people who will. I mean, we know what these people are. They're globalist, socialist, attention seekers who think themselves are better than God themselves or the creator or whoever is above them. They think they own the world because they hold these certain values, but it never stops from reality kicking them in the face. But the fact that we let these people do whatever they like and they see no pushback, and then they get government funding and government support, and then some of them get elected to the stage, and where this is like it's an element of a multi-complex problem that can't be just summarized in a simple sentence like lots of people want to be. Because there's a lot of answers to a lot of questions. People just want a simplified answer. And I'm like, you just cannot get that answer because you're not doing justice to what you're actually asking.
There's also just like it's so less specific to the trans community, more just the LGBT community as a whole. It's just they're so terrified. Like they exist for optics. They are so terrified of looking bad that they hide like pedophilia to try and avoid people from associating them with it, to the point where it means the communities are just rampant with it because they're terrified of being associated with it.
Right.
But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy then. Like if they don't deal with it, it's going to become rampant and they're going to get associated with it regardless.
Yeah. And I mean, there is an element to it because they do protect them. Like, they do protect these pedos. And it's like, oh, shit. But then they're just kind of doing it to get the attention that they need. They don't really care if the people are labeled. Because I think someone gave a warning like last year or the year before saying, okay, groomer. And that's now a normalized term by them, the leftists, who say, oh, okay, groomer, ha ha ha. And I'm like, even I leave comments like, leave Jimmy and his peas alone. Like, and it gets likes. And I'm like, I'm just shitting on the social media on purpose. But I'm like, these people are actually going around, yeah, it's like, they're just victims of society. I'm like, yeah, sure, Jimmy and his pals were definitely victims. Not the girls. Not the girls. But then this actually does lead to victim mentality or the victim pyramid of telling people you're not as much as a victim as someone else. This is where I think a lot of I think I'll have to say grooming gang scandal victims don't care so much about it than the other ones. Because they say, well, they're white. They're not as bad as if it was the Bangladeshi girls who got done, which is it's something I've been told as a comment in reply. It's like, what about the Bangladeshi ones? And I'm like, yeah, it's bad they got it as well. But they're like, the fact you went out your way to say the Bangladeshi ones were, what about them? On my comment, that's like, what about the 13,000 white girls? Working class white girls, and your response is the Bangladeshi girls, which is a lot less of, right? And it's like, oh, okay, that's deflective of that opinion there, because you're like, clearly what I've said there is not important.
Aye. And like the reason why like we focus so much on like the white girls that were raped is because like nobody defends like the Bangladeshi girls getting raped. So like if we all agree it's bad, why would this be debated? Well, it's obviously not going to be debated. But but the leftists don't think it's bad when the white girls are raped. Therefore, that's the part that gets debated.
Yeah.
And they always try to spin it as oh, well, you only care because it's white. And I mean, okay, sure, I guess, you know, I do prefer white people. When I say white, I want to clarify, I'm not including Europeans in that.
You're more of the Anglo-Saxon.
Yes, only the English are white. Everyone else is brown.
Thanks.
But that's a discussion. Well, now hang on. You're from Edinburgh, so I'm going to be honest. You're just English to me.
Well, to be honest, the Britons are all quite ethnically indigenous to the area. So you've got the Celts, the Picts, and the Anglos, and they're probably the most English, Scottish, not well. Let's face it, it's Irish as well, but we just separate that up because of stupid religion. But Irish too, like you've got very indigenous populations on these islands that we do care about. We care about what happens, unless you're one of these people who thinks, "Oh, it's one in the country; it doesn't matter."
Aye.
Which we get a lot of because we got a lot of Scottish nationalists who think the English are completely unrelatable. We have nothing in common with them.
It's so ridiculous because, like, realistically, right? Like, the Scottish that live in the lowlands are basically identical to like the English that live in like Northumbria.
Exactly.
Like,
And
there is no difference between us. It's only when you get like the Highlands that it becomes a difference.
well, I see the Central Belt I mentioned before. The Central Belt has always been that economic center. So that's the part where you start looking up the UK map and everything like that bit that tightens up in the middle, where one ends Edinburgh and one ends Glasgow and a little bit more up. And that's your Central Belt where it's been for almost hundreds of years the center of power, economy, wealth for many, many years, hundreds of years, because it's been so closely connected to down south. That's where all the kingdoms are. That's where most of the business came up from England. They're like, you want to trade some sheep, some wool, some oil, whatever. It came up from England, north of England, to Edinburgh and Glasgow. And then they started sending things back down, saying, we've got boats in Glasgow and we've got influence in Edinburgh. Do you want some of it there? Just a success letter of the UK, by the way, nationalists.
Well, it's also because like we are like both Britons. Like
we are all Britons, though.
Yeah, I mean like Brythonic. We're all Brythonic. Like this is the only real difference I really see in Scotland is the Brythonic and the Gaelics. So I mean like the English are basically just the same as the Welsh as well. Like we're all descendants of the Brythonics. So there is no actual difference. Obviously, Scotland again is split in half from they have Irishmen in there as well.
Way on about Brythonics. That's a new term I've heard.
Well, Brythonic is Cumbrian, Welsh, Cornish, English, and do you know the people from Brittany in France?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were basically the Anglo-Saxons, not the Anglo-Saxons. They were the Celts that lived in Britain.
Ah, okay. So okay. Yeah, they were here before. Yeah, that's the Picts, the Celts, and all that. Yeah, okay.
The Picts are very slightly different because I don't think anyone actually knows where they came from.
Scotland.
They came from Scotland, yeah, but like they had to have come from outside. They didn't just spawn in Scotland one day.
Well, what I've been told, it's like they spawned from even what is it? Even far north. I'm on about Norway. They're saying that some of it comes from up there because Orkney used to belong to Norway or Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
It used to belong to them. And if there was ever a deal, if they had to go independent, they would be going back to them because it was done on a trade deal hundreds of years ago. But the Picts, and that's like Glasgow and the coast and the Northern Ireland. And then, sorry, not the Picts, the Celts. That's where Northern Ireland and Glasgow, they've had their clans and their things there. And then you had the Picts that were basically the whole rest of it. And then England and Wales did their own thing. And then you had your Cornish and your Blicktons, or whatever you called them.
The people from Brittany. I can't remember what they're called. Bretons. The Bretons.
Bretons. which
Yes,
is okay. Yeah.
They fled from Britain during the Anglo-Saxon invasion.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like I said, the Lowlands are basically like just the same as the English. Biologically, like arguably culturally to a certain extent. So like Scottish independence there doesn't make sense. It does make sense to me, obviously in the Highlands because they're Irishmen. So that makes sense why the Irish wouldn't want to be in the British Empire, the United Kingdom. But I just say, the United Kingdom is the kingdom of the Celts, and by virtue of you being Celtic, you should be in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, and the island, the Britons, represents all of us, but we've actually moved a lot further from the original subject we were on about.
Yes, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I did it as well, but that's what we're here to discuss. To take the serious question, which the question is, what is a woman? Because
oh Jesus Christ, we really did diverge far.
Yeah, that's literally we went right over the other end, and I'm like, thank God there's just two of us because I'm like I would have left it. Yeah, what was a woman? Picks and kilts. That's went far, but anyway. So what we've been playing on the screen in the background is all these people who have been saying there's no such thing as a woman, there's trans women are women, and all that stuff. Nicola Sturgeon there in the clip. That was the very famous clip that probably led to a fucking downfall. Thank God. David Tennant being woke as hell and, all these idiots. But the Supreme Court came into ruling that a woman is based on the biological aspects, not the actual, what do you call it? Not based on gender, which I'm like, thank God, in a way.
Well, the trans debate has always seemed so simple to me. Though admittedly, I've never actually spoken to a trans person about this, so maybe I've not heard any arguments they would present. Though I suppose the only trans people I've ever actually spoken to have all been Nazis. So
great.
Bro, do you know just how many Nazis are just trans now?
I mean, I can't say how it wouldn't.
They're all just fascists and Nazis on Twitter. It's ridiculous. Kind of hot though, but that's getting off track. Off topic.
I don't want to know. Okay, I don't. If there's a bit of hotness, I don't want to know about it. Okay, but whatever. This is from the forum UK Scotland. I'm not going to talk about them because they've absolutely annoyed me to the extent. But this is also very true. The Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, the one that represents us all, doesn't matter who it is, Anglophobes, ruled the definition of woman and sex by the Equality Act relates to a biological woman and biological sex. Common sense prevails. Thank fuck. Because in Scotland, this is where it came from. Because you had people like Nicola Sturgeon who said women and men are basically the same. There was a famous clip of her that she lost the conversation of what a woman was. And this basically led to the woman's downfall. But the SNP themselves have become so woke in their own expectations. It's just it destroyed the party, basically. Because you had women, probably most of these people here in the picture, women that were obviously know what a woman is, but they never want to share a room with Bryce Howard, I think the name was. Doesn't matter. But this was a woman or a trans woman that was basically a man in woman's clothes and had to share a woman's prison. And once you see who this person looks like, you start to understand why the woman would have a problem.
Aye.
But now this is all completely fell to the wind side, basically. And now we've got people who, well, we know what a woman is, an adult human female, an ordinary human female, no large genitals, like on there. But yeah, we just know what a woman is. So someone has got to do a bit of an apology to her. So this is Joanna Cherry, very annoying Scottish nationalist, but very on hand with the woman's, supporting women. One of the very few people that Nicola Sturgeon probably shot down. She was one of Nicola Sturgeon's biggest supporters, by the way. But soon as Nicola Sturgeon couldn't say what a woman was, and she left the party, I believe, soon as, or beforehand. But the fact that it got to that stage, it was quite... I just don't want to know what that means, independence. I just don't want to delete that. Because I'm like, I actually want to know if that's actually going to go into something. Fuck me. It does. We shouldn't give the National too much credit because they are an anti-English propaganda machine, which just makes hate for the English people. So they'll give them too much credit. But Joanne Cherry is one of these, I would say, women activists that went against her ruling. Because this is where, like, there was so much drama around this whole fucking situation. You were like, why are we discussing this? They even did an overnight... No, we're not listening to what they're saying. Overnight debate about what a woman was, trying to pass legislations and all that kind of stuff. Can I show something that's not violent? Jesus Christ.
Bro should not be on Twitter.
I was like, this face shouldn't be on there, but I can't look at that either. Or that one. Or that. It's like, God damn it. Home. My home. There we go. Christ. No, just go into my account, stupid. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so Joanne Cherry demands an apology from Nicola Sturgeon for what she's saying. But I'm not sure if I can get to my own profile, that would help. You aren't verified yet. I am aware of that. You got people like Patrick Harvey, this is the Green leader, who are absolutely fuming at the idea of now trans people who self-identify face banned for single-sex spaces. Good, because they shouldn't be worried about that in the first place. But Nicola Sturgeon's got to come out with an apology too, because she was one of these people who... where am I looking at? Or have I gone too far? No, we're jumping onto the independence shite. Yeah. So Nicola's got to owe an apology to her. Now, if that comes true, that would be quite embarrassing, to be fair. Because she would have to go back on a lot of things she said anyway, but she's just one of many people who, caused the problems to be worse. Let's say that. Because, let's see. Ukrainian thing. There was something about her, but that's weird. Because this was her on the Careless
I just want
Trust.
to very quickly check. You can't hear my Discord beeping, can you?
I can hear the beeping, yes.
I'm okay. You should have mentioned. I'm terribly sorry. I would have turned that
No,
off.
it's fine. It's not that loud anyway.
You
It's
could
fine.
have mentioned things. I would have turned it off ages
No,
ago.
it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But basically, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. But there's going to be a lot of people that's demanding justice for what's been going on with the, men being allowed in women's spaces kind of thing. Because even Politics Poll did a poll 8 hours ago. After 950, 593 votes about this question. Do you think transgender women or biological man should not be in the allowed to use a women's toilets? 94.1% people, said no. And I called out the second part to that, where anyone who actually does think they are a big problem. But
it does seem as if society has, generally speaking, rejected trans ideology.
Yes, there it is. I wonder where it was.
But again, I must say, I can't help myself but feel bad for them, because they're entirely a victim of the circumstances that have been made for them.
Oh, they're a victim of society for sure. But it's when they jump out of that box and start saying they're special is where I lose it. But like I said, this is what I was trying to find. I don't know why I couldn't find it there. Nicholas Sturgeon should apologize to women and other gender ruling, says SNP MP. If she does that, that would be great. But she left a lot of damage where she didn't protect the waspy woman and a lot of women that needed protected spaces, because you allowed men to go into women's spaces and basically made Scotland a laughingstock again. And today, Scotland is also a laughingstock because they're the only people in the country who doesn't know what a woman is. And
that was the one where the guy raped a woman and then he called himself a woman, so he got put in a woman's prison, wasn't it? Or
that's the exact same one. Couldn't remember the case. He raped someone and they said, well, you are a trans person, so you should be going into a woman's prison. Now, if I can find a picture of this said gentleman.
Bro got the winning strat right there. He got free range of that prison.
I know, and it was fucking annoying to be the embarrassment of the world, but Scotland thinks it's somehow the top of the world, but realised it wasn't. It was getting mocked for the entire time, let alone anything else that happened up here. What was the criminal called? Trying to remember the. But anyway, good day for women, so there's no issue there. Ida Blyson, that's the name. Ida Blyson. Now, let's change the screen so you can see who this Ida Blyson is, where this all fucking kicked off. Because, oh, man. Like, this was the person that started the whole shit. I mean, they were going to do this anyway, but the fact that they got to this stage was quite worrying. This is Ida Blyson.
Beautiful woman.
Beautiful woman, yep, we know that. But Ida Blyson also had a lovely package as well. Where is that package? You can see it's full of women's activists. I mean, they are on the edge of... God, this thing's just... Look at how much stuff is on the screen already. Oh my God.
It looks like J.K. Rowling won.
Well, she should be happy. Has J.K. came out with anything yet?
That is a good question. I will jump on Twitter and have a look.
Because she would be one of the people to... There we go. Beautiful picture. Look at that. Right there. Look at that. Beautiful. Right there.
Ridiculous.
Right there. That's a lovely woman. Right there. We won't forget that forever. Anyway.
She did, yes. J.K. Rowling did make a tweet.
She did make a tweet.
It says, think I might have a cigarette later. Hashtag Supreme Court, hashtag women's rights.
Thank fuck. Because honestly, this is one of the good news of the day where women were allowed to know who they were. And women shouldn't have to feel they are in danger in this country, to be fair, let alone from the other sex. And I think the government's been going out their way to make sure the other sex was more of a woman should be scared of the other sex. Now, I think the definition goes between the imported male to the indigenous male, but it doesn't mean they both can't do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you're looking at stuff like this here, I hope it's loading. The gender debate, two sides of the gender debate. This came out in December 22, so this is old stuff. I remember when, well, there's JK there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Come on. Oh, wait. Is it not showing? Oh, shit.
Hang on. Are you showing the image where it's the two people holding posters?
No, it's
I
something
can't see
else.
it then.
Yeah, it's gone. Because I went on to the article that's based on that, because that's actually a Scottish Family Party there. There we go. Because this is what one of the things that kicked off. J.K. Rowling went the t-shirt with Nicola Sturgeon, destroyer of women's rights. Which was true, because you actually devalued the value of a woman, which was actually quite devastating, to be fair. The people who were there, who say a man can't become a woman, you know, the one odd time the right and the left actually united one time, which is weird why the picture of them two have vanished. Whatever. Was by the Scottish Family Party. Scottish Family Party was one of the main people who do believe in the Christian values and men and women are different, but they also, I think they're quite hardline when it comes to the things we were on about, like what's the exact what do you call it? What's the exact definition of a trans person?
Yeah.
They're quite hardline Christians on this stuff. But I think we should be moving on from that stuff, because I think we spent long enough on good news. So we look at sad news now. We look at sad things. It's all over. All the sad stuff must come out now, and we're all going to have fun. So let's
Nate
talk
Higgins is back.
Eh?
Nate Higgins is back.
Oh, Nate Higgins.
It's sad
hello.
news.
Oh, Nate. Hello. How you doing, Nate? Feeling sad about the rest of the world. Anyway, right, so we remove that and add onto something. No. We're going to talk about something a little bit different. Is there any way you want this to go before I choose something?
I mean, there's genuinely that much to discuss. It is entirely up to you. There's actually been so much that's happened.
Right. Well, we might as well talk about the people I said I didn't want to talk about. We might as well talk about reform.
Oh, it's so over.
You believe that too?
It's genuinely so over. Well, the second Rupert got kicked out, it's been over.
Well, we're going to talk about Mr. Rupert Lowe MP himself, because you said you were a nice kitty for him, so we're going to talk about kitty stuff. Rupert Lowe, for me, soon as he got kicked out, the reform was done. But the way they went about it really shocked me. We were expecting better. Like, I expected a lot better from the Reform UK, and they just showed to be the backstabbing party that is now getting the establishment. Like, the establishment seems to be quite happy that this whole thing's going the way it is. And it's kind of weird seeing people just, I don't know, forgetting what happened, to be fair. And they're just like, you know what, we must, we must move on and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah, okay, Tories.
Yeah, that's what they are. I'm trying to be nice about it, but I really can't.
It's ridiculous how much containment this country has. Like there was the Tories and now there's Reform. Like there should not be this many containment parties.
Yeah, someone actually said Reform might actually just be your word, containment for a right-wing movement. And it's like, well, see if a genuine right-wing movement does come about. Well, it's going to take off, because even I shared a video about where my contention goes, but let's not talk about just now, because we got to talk about the legend himself, Mr. Rupert Lowe. Now, Rupert Lowe is the MP that got kicked out, Greg Garmouth, the man who, as far as I'm aware, is actually a good MP who was kicked out for saying stuff that was anti-Nigel Farage. And the way they did about it is quite upsetting to me. But one of the good bits of news, fuck it, let's go on about the good news. He actually was able to fund the money, 600,000 for his independent rape gang inquiry. So it's quite good. Now, I don't think you can see how much it is, because I've opened up another link, but it's fine. He's reached £600,000. This is all in donations to do an independent inquiry into the grooming gang scandal that happened in England, because the government, Nigel Farage, and the Forum are not doing it. So it's good to see people saying, maybe don't look at we don't need a rape gang inquiry, we don't need this, we don't need that. But to be honest, it's good we've actually got good politicians. That's my point.
Rupert Lowe is our guy. He's the only one we've got, but he is still our guy.
Now,
he's Cromwell.
Well, he says he likes Cromwell, and I had to lead the guy up, and I'm like, okay, I guess so.
Are you not a fan of Cromwell?
Honestly, I don't know, because I'm seeing, as soon as I started looking at it, then my feet just got covered in Cromwell stuff. I'm like, can I just get... And I'm like, can I just get my Star Wars content back? I just want... my literal feed just turned into fucking Cromwell's a dick, and I'm like, hold on. I know he might be foreign, but come on, man.
Nah,
but
Cromwell's not foreign.
Apparently he is.
Oliver Cromwell is an Anglo-Saxon patriot.
Like I said, I don't know. But 5 weeks ago, Rupert Lowe was kicked out of the party, which has become very clear, I think, to us two anyway, that this was political. Nigel Farage was scared that Rupert Lowe was doing better than him, because we know this at the time, that Rupert Lowe was doing a crowdfunding event before he got booted out, basically. And then the Forum calls the police on him, does a KC report on him, which is the King's Council, which is, would I say that's more authoritarian, but onto the authority level, but the... What would the best way of saying it is? Government version of their own investigation police, sort of thing like that. That's what KC does.
It's just a branch of the government.
Yeah. So they did it. Rupert Lowe did his own one, and now we're getting a lot of claims about Rupert Lowe himself coming from random of journalists saying he's got dementia. And I'll probably play the clip here, because this is the point we're talking about right now is point 206 of 500. There's so much individual points of this timeline from 4 weeks ago. Things have gone so crazy. It's weird. Now they're trying to destroy his character. They're trying to say he's too old. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And now, thanks to Dan Wootton, again, because he's the one who's actually be coming out with actual proper interviews, for fuck's sake, out of all the other people that exist. now there's people even in the forum trying to say Rupert Lowe's got dementia. So let's listen to this.
That two senior figures within Reform UK have directly briefed multiple journalists the downright lie that Rupert Lowe is suffering from dementia in a brazen bid to end his political career. I've also learned that Farage's Daily Telegraph column after the party reported Rupert Lowe to the police for apparently threatening the life of its chairman, Zia Youssef, was written specifically to act as a dog whistle to that claim. And for anyone doubting the veracity of what I believe is a coordinated and secret campaign, a very sophisticated campaign, I can personally tell you that I was briefed on Rupert's so-called dementia.
So, what do you make of this update?
It's just cartoonishly evil. Like, I expected Nigel to be a cock, but this is beyond what even I expected. I didn't think he'd go this far.
So to be honest, how do you think it's all went? Like the whole thing, to be like the whole dilemma, the whole. Because I think I've got some of it here, but not all of it, obviously, because it's 4 weeks ago. But even this thing actually makes sense.
Okay, to be fair, the one that beat his wife, he isn't actually that bad. Because he's also joined Rupert Lowe in funding the grooming gangs inquiry.
Yeah, that's actually a thing I keep forgetting to mention, because that happened too, didn't it?
The problem is he's a literal who. Like, this is all he's done. So, like, it's like nobody knows his name. But no, to be entirely fair, he has been kind of based in that. I reckon he's going to get kicked out next if he keeps working himself, though.
Well, we do have May elections coming up, so we've all got to say we've got to be a bit fucking careful of how well, we've got to be a bit careful of how good these people are. To be fair, aren't they? Because if they say too much, bye bye. Go away now. There was the conference they did as well, where I think we've seen many clips of Nigel saying that we've got to look after Islam of all things. We've seen clips of this is before this happened, where I should really follow Douglas, shouldn't I? There you go. Happy now. Although I attacked him like 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter. Geez, it's just like just trying to think like what's the like where do you start? Like with the whole thing with Rupert Lowe and all that shit. You're like, where do you start?
It does just start with the fact that Rupert Lowe told Nigel to make the party like an actual party. And Nigel has been very insecure about his position because of Rupert's popularity. And he just took the opportunity to just kick him from the party. It's important to note, nothing Rupert Lowe said was unfair either. It's not like he came out and attacked Nigel. He genuinely just said, like, look, we need to make the party, like, electable. And that Nigel was having none of it.
No. And apparently, even one of these things he said here, he was told to shut up about. Now, tell me how base this sounds, because I loved it when this happened at the conference, and apparently Nigel hated it, but he was told not. Rupert Lowe here was told not to say it. So let's see.
The mass rape of young working-class white girls by mainly Pakistani men on an industrial scale. That is a rotting stain on our country's history. I do not say this lightly, but it makes me ashamed to be British. We failed those girls, and heads must roll. I want deportations, not just for the rapists, but also the family members who are aware of their heinous crimes. If If that results in tens of thousands of deportations, then that is what must happen.
So I agree also.
Bro is so based. I've never actually. Bro, heads will roll. I love that. Heads will roll.
Because that's the stuff I've kind of been on the edge of. Sorry. That's where I've been on the edge of basically. Okay, so. I mean, so much shit I put on this thing, honest to God. Well, you're right, because Nigel has been a bit scared of what he says, isn't it? Because even, look at this, 28th of November, Sky News was asking him something. When was this? Nigel Reform asked about Reform MP James Murdoch. Now, does anyone remember what James Murdoch did?
He's the one who hit his wife.
He hit his wife.
Yeah.
Well,
look, get the woman told Assy.
God damn it.
This sandwich is not cooked correctly.
Stop that.
I like my sandwiches in squares, woman. This is a triangle. So based. So based, get told.
For clarity, I do not agree completely. If they're not rectangles, then it's fine. But anyway, this is even back then, I thought it was interesting how Nigel was a bit fragile at this interview of all things. Likely says, stormed out.
Involves being honest, though. Are you not concerned that he lied about what he did?
Did he? He wasn't vetted. He wasn't vetted. James McMurdoch was one of those many candidates who wasn't vetted at all by the party. Look, I didn't know any of this when I took back over as leader.
So you said you're going to put in place the most vigorous vetting system in place now. Do you think James McMurdoch would not go through this new vetting system?
You can have your fun at Sky News. We've got 100,000 members. I've got 1 million followers on TikTok. Dame Andrew Jenkins has just joined us. She's our candidate for Greater Lincolnshire. You've had your fun. I'm off for lunch. Thank you.
I thought that not confident at all.
I thought that was quite petty, to be honest. And
he's not confident.
And I actually, I'm actually going to have to change this back because this is actually relevant to what happened recently. Because one of his vetting candidates said something nice about Mr. Jimmy, didn't he? And he got booted out because apparently he had the most vigorous. Vigorous. Are you on the Instagram now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. One of the most vigorous, what do you call it? Vetting cycles, right?
Aye.
Oh dear. Look at this.
Get caught out by. All I can promise you is that they've been fully vetted. We have vetted our candidates to a higher level and a higher standard than any party has ever done before for local elections. And those numbers often get caught out by. All I can promise you is that they've been fully vetted. We have vetted our candidates to a higher level and a higher standard than any party has ever done before for local.
Obviously not good fucking enough, Nigel.
Well, what if Nigel just agrees and he's a big Savile fan himself?
Well, it could be true. That's the possibility. But what was said in that whole thing there was, because this Reform candidate was saying a few nice things about Jimmy Savile, the man that we're not allowed to like. But I'll read what it actually said in a small writing for anyone who can't read. The Reform candidate has been suspended from the party after posts on social media revealed that his support for the sexual abuser Jimmy Savile, Stephen Hartley, remember the name, people? It's not like he doesn't look like he's got common sense anyway, was listed as standing for Reform Banbury, Hardwick, Ward, Bordley, Handwick, Ward. See these English things. I do struggle sometimes with this stuff. Sorry, it's just my disability. Sorry. For the local elections, the Oxfordshire Council on the May the 1st. What did he say? Mr. Hartley confirmed that he posted this in 2002 that Savile was a working class hero, and he said many have forgotten to disclose his X account to the Reform UK when when sent the post, the Forum UK said Mr. Hartley has been suspended from the party and withdrawn from full support of his candidacy. So he was a fan of Jimmy Savile, and I remember when I was asked to do be a candidate for my area, I said I said this to David Bull and the campaign manager up here as well. I said you won't be able to defend anything I say online. So, and that's mild what I say, by the way, people, not what he said. I mean, Laz has gone probably as far as I've ever gone with this kind of stuff, but that just shows their vetting process isn't that good. Let alone Nigel, let alone the party, and let alone what's happening in what their whole process is in Scotland, in England, and Wales. It's fucking madness. But anyway, this is the clip that also got people a bit unsure about the form, because even then, in November, I was saying, seriously, why did we even vote for the form? Same liberal media elite establishment lines said by everyone else has been said by Nigel Farage here.
Is accusations of extremism. And the one thing the establishment will try to use again and again and again is accusations of extremism, intolerance, and racism against us. So I make this plea. If you really, really hate everybody else because they're slightly different to you, please don't join the party. And the one thing...
Probably not the one I was looking for, but to be honest, that's half your party, Nigel, and that's half your support.
See, Nigel just doesn't like his voters. That is what it comes down to.
Well, he did come out with a Channel 4 interview saying he wasn't a populist and he wasn't a nationalist. And look at the people they've added on recently.
Yes. It's an actual joke.
I mean, yes, we are going back a few weeks, but to be honest, the show hasn't reported on it, so this is all new grounds. We've got Charlie Mullins, globalist EU fanboy, another liberal Democrat, Leg Kevin, don't know who he is, but he looks very weird, and globalist liberal Tory, Tim Montague, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, these people are the ones who, whether they did defect or support the reform, is a question. Real fucking questions need to be asked. Because there's so many things that they did, and they kicked out Rupert Lowe, so anyone could join. Even Nick Lowles. Maybe he would go for Southport.
They've actually just kicked the only good guy from the party to bring in a bunch of fucking leftists.
Aye. Do not please take the two posts. Okay, that's not what I was looking for. I thought I did something on... I thought I did have something with Rupert Lowe on here, but... Well, this was one of the things he did say that people found to be controversial. I do not believe deporting foreign nationals and the complicit in the mass rape of young white girls to be at all confrontational. Sorry.
Controversial.
Why the fuck did I do that? Sorry. The fact that arguing all these individuals...
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go read it.
In fact, arguing for these individuals to remain in the country is the extreme position.
Yeah. And I don't see how that's... Sorry, I've got a bit of problem with reading quick enough. Sorry. Just a little disability of my own. It's true, though. No. So there was many, many things said about what happened to Rupert Lowe. Even at the same time, we had that something really based coming from the Tories of all fucking people.
Don't fall for it.
Oh no, but it was based though, was it not? This was based. And where they actually went out and did a projection thing on to two-tier Kia on front of the Ministry of Justice. Time is running out. Yeah. We know that. But Robert Jenrick, you're Tory. So, to be honest, I don't really care. Now, how far this goes, it's a bit of a question mark. Calls for a complete stop to... Well, look at that. This is Rupert Law calling for complete stop to both legal and illegal immigration. You know, a very hard right stance, according to the BBC lovers.
As you and I know, the way to secure the problem is stop immigration, stop legal and illegal immigration on a scale that's seeing a city the size of Bristol each year and larger coming into our country, destroying our way of life and basically putting huge pressure on all our public services. It's not rocket science, it's pretty straightforward.
It really is.
And we need some proper government. We need to stop all this nonsense of, we need to repeal the ECHR, repeal the Human Rights Act, repeal the Equalities Act, and actually start to get Britain back onto a sensible basis again.
Bro is spitting facts.
It's true, isn't it? And the fact that, just the fact that it's gone to the stage where we are, even the quote unquote right wing party says that's too extreme, is worrying, right?
Yeah, you say that, but the fact that that man has just said illegal and illegal immigration, I haven't heard a single politician call for the end of legal immigration in actual years.
Well, I've heard Nick Tinconi of UKIP calling for it.
I don't think. No, I'm pretty sure he's always clarified illegal immigration.
Oh no, he's definitely jumped onto the illegal stuff and legal as well.
Is he?
Yeah, and even when I was at the Glasgow rally, Pro UK rally, the one where I got hit, there's a YouTube video showing it. But even there, they said it's got to happen in Scotland too, because Scotland's not as bad as Birmingham, right? Glasgow's the closest you got to a metropolitan city you get. But even they were like, okay, let's hold on a second here. This was September. They were saying, should we be careful about this? Like, we might need to check everyone's coming in, legal and illegal, because there's just such a flow of people going through the system. It's just mad.
Yeah, it's unusual that I hear them talk about legal immigration, though. It is usually just the illegal ones they talk about.
Well, it's because legal immigration is quite a touchy subject, because that's what the establishment wants. They want legalized, like, people. It sounds nice if you say legal, but then there's so much people in the UK where you even had the BNP and, like, back then saying there's too many people. And if you looked at the population when the BNP was going about, it's nowhere near the population it is now. Right. So you're like, fuck me. Even back then, they had points. Like, not everything they said, because Nigel Farage made sure that party died. And I think the one thing they had, like you said, was Rupert Lowe. He was becoming a rising star. You had Connor Tomlinson. You had two of the guys I love down here, Ben Habib and Carl Benjamin, talk about how good. Just Lotus Eaters podcast themselves, because I've just slowly become addicted to that whole show. But that's basically where my whole view of, like, my politics starts coming from a bit more. Because they are becoming the alternative media for news and everything, and they're growing. They're doing not bad. But anyway, they like them. Some Dan Wootton, I've always shown that multiple times. Many right-wing, I would say, academics were saying, okay, Rupert's coming up with the numbers. He's, what do you call it? He's coming out with the numbers. He's coming out with he's actually doing a lot of the work in Parliament in comparison to Richard, Nigel, and the rest of them. He was doing 60% of the questions. Like, wasting his time, basically, for a man who doesn't need to really be in Parliament. Like, he's wasting his time being in there. And what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he's doing the work.
Yeah.
He's asking the questions. We see the seats coming out on Twitter, and then it goes to the stage where Reform puts that letter out. Richard Tice's girlfriend makes that annoying fucking video.
That was so stupid.
Oh, I couldn't believe that. And what's worse is that was before she's acting like anyone. I hope everyone who's watching is aware of what we're talking about, because that's what we're playing with here. I
She's
expect
such a horrible woman.
Oh, I know. Like, I had no thing on her, and then that happened. I was like, you bitch. And the fact she said that, right? And this was before they sent was that before they sent the police involved?
I think it was, yeah.
Like, before that, so she fucking knew. Like, she knew that was gonna happen, and you're like, oh man. But weeks and weeks later, I kind of have to show this clip. This is journalists asking Nigel about reform, and just see how annoyed he's getting at it. He gets so annoyed.
As the questions went on, people started asking more about Rupert Lowe. And how shall I put it? Nigel Farage was getting increasingly frustrated with some of the journalists.
Hi, Nigel. Rupert Lowe's threatened legal action over
Good.
reform claims. It's interesting that would you prefer to fight him in court on that? If he took you to court, would you
I
fight
shall
him in
look
court?
forward to it. Thank you.
Nigel,
just quickly
you're gonna
on the same issue as Amy here. Do you think that Rupert Lowe is responsible? For
Yes.
Sorry.
ripping up that
Rupert did say that he was asked to.
Yeah.
It's literally all anyone cares about.
Yeah, and it's just weeks and weeks and weeks of this shit, and he's just like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care.
He very clearly cares.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's annoying. It annoys him so much. I thought there was a thing here. Well, that was a thing that came up as well. There was this thing where this petition came up that encouraged the leadership of the Reform to amplify members' voices, which was a thing Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib were coming around saying we should listen to members' voices. And that's extremely a point, especially in Scotland, where there's so many cases in England where members have been banned, kicked out for addressing issues. This came from Bruce Unfiltered. I think everyone would like him if he watched them. I'm going to try and get him on the podcast show, see if I can get him there. But it was basically try and get a voice to, get, members' voices up. There you go. Get people's voices involved, because the membership, basically, they can gloat about how impressive the membership is, but it's a trend. That's the thing. It's a very big populist trend. Now, you can get as much people as you like, but as soon as you start ignoring them, or when they start putting criticisms out, that's where problems start.
Yeah.
Because in Scotland, especially, me and a few other people have gave out criticisms to the party where there's a lot. I don't want to go into that right now because that's a while yet. Like that's a good fucking hours worth of how bad they're doing stuff up here. But people were removed, people were banned, people were removed from chats. I was removed from chats for accidentally removing the manager on my Reform members free speech WhatsApp group. Either moved the manager by mistake, and somehow I've still got my membership, but all these other people who said, well, this thing with Rupert Lowe is quite bad, and everyone's like, shut up, don't talk about it. And you're like, that's not good.
Yeah, the party is just literally suiciding.
Yeah. I know I'm kind of jumping over the place, but I mean, this isn't a proper show anyway, but we wish this was the party we had.
Aye. It is a genuine shame. They did the Boris. They did a Boris really. You know, they tried to they convinced the country they were going to save it, and they've just joined the problem.
I think this actually might be the video here I was trying to mention. This was an infamous BBC. Even Peter Whittle. You know Peter Whittle? He's part of the New Culture Forum. It's quite a good thing. He was part of the Brexit Alliance. Remember that? That's 2016 of all things. But this was where everyone kind of got worried about Nigel.
It's a political
Oh,
impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it. At the moment, it's a political impossibility.
But is it your ambition?
No. Yeah, I'm not going to get dragged down the route of mass deportations or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, people are always going to come and go, and we are a country that's engaged in international trade, and we have relationships around the world through the Commonwealth, etc. But yeah, we have to aim at a balanced migration policy.
See what I mean? Things like that is why people got annoyed in the first place. What happened there? You still there? Can't hear you because your mic's gone. Don't know what happened there.
What about now?
There we go. Your mic.
Yeah, and it's just a completely avoidable issue.
I was like, we even saw Rupert Owen Blanche, Safford. Well, look at the Safford Blanche is closed down. Regional manager has for no apparent reason. The acting chairman and officers have been removed and threatened with disciplinary action for trying to learn a branch. Letters to Zia Yusuf, the Forum UK, has gone unanswered. So things like this happens all the time. This is a branch office that was literally closed down by the Forum for no reason. Why? We don't know. No one ever fucking explains this. And things like that is what causes fucking problems, people. And when we have issues where we want to build a proper party, the last thing we need to start doing is murdering people on their political career, which is what happened to Rupert. And if you see in this picture here, this is a whole list of the ex-BNP, UKIP, Reform, and anyone else Nigel has destroyed their career on. Rupert Lowe being the latest one on.
It's a track record.
There's a good 35 bodies on that one. They're not dead people. It's just the way I'm phrasing it. Yeah. And it's just so weird. Well, here we go again. 33% of Reform voters think the party would be doing better under a different leader. Now, yes, this is YouGov, the very famous bias organization, but whatever. This is the point. If people think it can do better or worse with a different leader, and people were saying Rupert Lowe looked like he was the possible candidate, Nigel was not. Nigel came in at the right moment, took the guy's seat. Let's be clear. The guy spent £6,000, according to The Guardian, that spoke to him, that he spent £6,000 on Nigel's seat, and then Nigel came in at the last minute, says, I'm going to run for the seat, then I'll win the election. Don't know if the guy got his £6,000 back, but...
Probably not.
But like I say, we don't know. If we knew, if we had a bit of clarity, it would help.
Aye. Nigel did just get parachuted into a winning position, and he's kind of acting as if he was the only guy behind the victory.
And we do have people like Julie Hartley-Brewer saying there's no party without Nigel Farage. Yes, Julia, that's the fucking problem.
Yeah, I mean, what if he dies? What then? Does the party die?
Yeah, does the party stop existing? Because we've got real things to deal with like this. And this. People come from different countries and doing things to us, but we're not allowed to talk about it. but mention Rupert Lowe's little incident in the correct manner? Well, there's Nick Tinconi out saying, Rupert Lowe, you want to join, you can. To UKIP, never happened.
Well, I mean, UKIP's kind of dead.
Yeah. Here's that clip. I didn't realize I had it. Here's that clip of Elizabeth Oakeshott talking about how silly Rupert was.
Sweet, isn't it? Poor little Rupert. He's quite new at politics. He's really new in the House of Commons. And, this is what happens to people who are amateurs at politics, and they become MPs and suddenly they think, yay, look at me. I think I could be Prime Minister. They all do it.
Go and fuck yourself.
She's a horrible woman.
I know. And literally the next day, just look how weird that is. Rupert comes in here, Richard, Lee Anderson sitting there. He's just that look at the just that right there, that fucking look right there, and you're just
so
like,
powerful.
It is though, in a way, isn't it? Just like, it's so sad. It is sad though.
Yeah. It could have been so different.
It could have been, or they could have maybe just told him not to do something, but it got to the stage where the police got involved, and
well, maybe the populist right-wing party should be, I don't know, maybe popular and right-wing. Shocking idea, I know.
I know. Tell me about it. And then, like, just the way they did stuff. Well, here's a quick joke. No, actually, that wasn't the joke, but whatever. You've seen the article now. She wanted to take a picture taken again because it was offensive to show her face. So they had to take the police had to take a picture again because of the hijab. Welcome to the law. We could have a gripe at Ukraine, to be honest. Might as well. This is something I made. Quick one. Quick gripe at them.
What exactly does Canada want?
We want more money. Yeah, more money.
More money from where?
Just more money, Canada doesn't get enough money. Other countries have lots of money. We want some of that money. How about the internet? The internet makes lots of money, so give us some of that money. Yeah, give us internet money.
Mr. Bootman, you seem to not understand how global economics works. I think
Don't give me that fat cat fancy lip wiggling. Are you going to give Canada more money or not?
Welcome to Ukraine.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was very entertaining to watch. The Trump and Zelensky meeting.
That was that was an interesting element, wasn't it? I just couldn't believe how that went. There's something else I made. No, doesn't matter. Yeah, that was interesting. There we go. That's the joke right there. Can you find this woman? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is, man?
I don't know who she is.
Do you not know?
No.
How do you not know?
They all look the same. I can't see the face.
What do you mean, racist? Yeah, that was a thing that happened in the UK. We'll have to make a little joke sometimes, guys, because this is a real story. Because police this was a case that happened. It just came out of nowhere. A convicted female British ISIS terrorist, convicted, real thing. She complained the first picture they took of her took her with her hijab. Then the police had to come back and take the picture again because she was scared for her safety, of all things. So, if anyone's trying to find who this terrorist is,
we'll never know.
You will never know. You will never know. Because you can't use the first picture because that's offensive. But you have this one. So if you can find this woman, tell us. You will be able to find her. You will be able to find her sometime. And a bit of news from that. That was weeks ago. They were able to get rid of an ISIS leader. Thank
Do you think
God.
if you identify as a trans Muslim, like that, you could get away with the same thing?
Possible.
That might be worth. If anyone's watching this, that might be worth a tryout. Let me know how it works.
Well, I mean, the oppression Olympics is quite hard. There is a guy in Australia. That's where you really get it, because there was a guy who stands for the Green Party, and he said he was a, what do you call it? A pansexual Muslim. He was being serious, by the way, and I can show the video if you don't believe me, if it works. But yeah, that was true. Here's Rupert Lowe. That's to show our God and Savior being factful as he is.
I'm here. You speak English. You live by our laws, and you effectively respect what we are. Otherwise, go home.
Fucking right. That is how it's going to work. And for all the people who thought maybe this isn't working, like, for all the reform people who think nothing, like, it's all going to work, we can shove this underneath the carpet, but then the public see it. Because, like it or not, well, actually, I'll probably make this point. Lupe even says here this point is so important, which is so true, what I'm about to show, is what we saw with the party, social media, the letter, the police, what we've been talking about, it's all exposed on X now. And ever since Elon's took over, we've actually got a full live feed form of what's happening in current events. And we've got personalities who, every time they say something, it becomes news instantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a full cycle of information. Like when we're saying there's so much things happening, if you stick your head into X, that's literally every single comment. So what happened to Rupert Lowe was a bit embarrassing, to be fair, for any of us who were extremely right-wing or wanted a right-wing party, now know they're basically a joke. But what happens when it comes to the general public?
But then, unprompted, this happened. A reference to the row between suspended Reform MP Rupert Lowe and the party leadership.
I follow Rupert on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, and I look at it. Look, I don't follow politics avidly, but I just look and just think, this man's full of common sense, and I really like him. And then I just see I don't really know what has happened, but it just looks from a complete outsider's point of view. He's just been chucked under the bus. And I'm like, am I getting second thoughts about reform?
Spats happen.
We don't need a journalist to explain that for us, but that's what they've done.
They've completely lost the faith of the country.
Yeah.
Nobody trusts them now.
But I would, and like I said, back to Elizabeth, asking here, we're not going to play her say it, she's asking we should move on, forget about it, move on, and forget what happened, and then the week before she said that. So shut the fuck up. But yeah, so it's just weird how it all goes, to be fair. I think, is there anything else relevant to this I need to talk about apart from him? But no, I'm a bit worried about how the form's gonna go, because we can say this stuff, right? Two of us who have social media accounts and all that, but they did gain a lot of members.
Yeah, they're probably going to win next election, but they're like literally nothing's going to happen, and they're just going to lose all their support like the Tories did.
That's the thing. I'm wondering. Now, this will be a good segue. I'm actually wondering if, say, Reform doesn't do too well right now, because I think the Rupert Lowe thing was a thing where everyone's like, okay, now we see the party for what it is.
Yeah.
We see a party that's not serious, it's not ready to do what it needs to do, and there'd be I would say a wagon for right-wing people or people with enthusiasm and a bit of, I don't know, just a bit of like gumption about them to wanting change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I change this to the other screen. We have issues like, there we go. We show that here. Like people for us, this was, for me, this is what I found was quite important.
Suggesting is a possibility, then that's transformative.
And another thing as well is that because Farage is only going to, given that his raison d'etre is pretty transparent by now, and maybe it was to you all along, but it's becoming so more and more. There is a lot of there is a reservoir of untapped talent and energy on the British right. Some of it from all generations, including mine and Connor's. And anyone who is self-respecting and who has something of an ego, because you're right, egos are part and parcel of politics, and has a brief in a certain area, knows a lot about immigration, knows a lot about tech, whatever it knows, a lot about social media, whatever it might be. All of those people are going to be instantly put off the very idea of joining Reform because they don't want to be subjected to an HR disciplinary proceeding, and still less subjected to a police investigation. And they know that if they if their head rises above the parapet in any way whatsoever, that's likely what's coming down the tracks. So that's another consideration as well. Those people need somewhere to go, and if there were to be an alternative vehicle in British politics, yes, at first it might struggle to garner publicity, but because it would be tapping into that ready-made base of talent, which Farage, not only is Farage neglecting, he's actively persecuting within his own ranks. I'm not being too sort of idealistic here, but I do think it could be a pretty formidable beast in British politics in around 3 years, particularly if it has the Musk bucks, which I think is an important variable. Social media is another one. That's something you didn't mention in your answer. I'm sure you would agree. Carswell technically had a public presence in Parliament,
absolutely,
and yet he wasn't really able to resist the ousting. Whereas I think the fact that Rupert Lowe, I think they assumed that the old playbook was operative,
yes,
and that Rupert Lowe wouldn't be able to react and wouldn't be able to marshal his own resources as quickly as he could. But the news cycle is not dictated to by Sky News anymore. It's social media, and Rupert Lowe was instantly tweeting, and that becomes news in 10 minutes.
And
so yeah, basically that in itself, because like we did mention just not long ago, the fact that X basically is a news source in itself does give a bit of gravitas against the mainstream media slop that we get.
Yeah.
And what we get on social media from ourselves. And you can actually see from Rupert Lowe's own. I will cut that and put this back. Because you actually see from ever since Rupert Lowe basically got kicked out, his social media following has grown massively. Now, if we can get to one of his own tweets somewhere, because, oh man. Boo, 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 boo. Where is the guy? There he is. So the guy only wasn't even close to what he had before, but now he's got 355,000 people following him now. So from a guy who had like 52,000, maybe 56, I can't remember how much it was, to 355,000. What a fucking jump, I must say. What an absolute jump.
Yeah, I mean, he is actually blowing up.
Hmm.
This has only made him more popular.
Which is probably what they didn't want.
Exactly.
And that was the new Culture Forum. I forgot his name now, but you should watch them. They're quite good. That's actually for our age group, by the way. For that part they do the show. That Wicco guy I mentioned, he owns that. And he hired Connor Tomlinson on to do that kind of stuff for him. So, be interesting. But the question was, if there was a new party to come in, is there an alternative? Well, it looks like we do have one. The Integrity Party.
I'm not supporting them until Rupert joins, because I don't want to support a party led by a Muslim, not by a Pakistani. So I'm waiting until Rupert joins.
Just try and make sure you're not too racist, buddy. It's fine. But no, I've actually quite. We were looking for a new political force. Well, Basil came up with the good news of the Integrity Party, which Ben Habib, which is confirmed now, he has become director of the Integrity Party. There's stuff he cannot do right now, but most of us in the light do respect Ben, and probably what Ben does is that let's look, his name's on the register, his name's there. Well, we might as well just go down Basil's page, to be honest, isn't it? Official director. Whoever these other people were, I do not know. We still got to look at the Integrity Party, but to be fair, the party looks quite based and decent. No, that's not what I want. I mean, it's full of basically AI pictures, but fuck it at this stage. Because I'll just go through it slowly. No, don't do that. No. Immigration control, they're quite good on that. They've got not too bad. I can't really say too much about it because I haven't read through everything, and I'm kind of like you. I'm a bit unsure what to think about the whole Integrity Party thing. The name I don't like, but that's nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing. But I posted the thing that Ben actually confirmed himself. He actually is the director. Think he said he was going to change the name. I'll just go through my page slowly. Not that. Nope. Weird. Maybe I'll post on somewhere else because I don't really use my X account that much. I usually use my Instagram one where everyone seems to be like, that's where it seems to be my audience. So it's maybe on there. So, yeah. Interesting things, mate. Interesting. How's that little Discord of yours going on, by the way?
Which one? I have two now.
Two.
Yes. Do you mean the political one or the CWAO?
I think it's the political one.
Yes. It's doing quite handsomely. Admittedly, it has sort of just been de facto to the streams only. But, you know, we've been getting a lot of guests on, so it's been getting more and more sort of filled out, we'll say.
Who have you been getting?
We've got an East Saxon. We got a Swedish guy, Aaron. Aaron's one of our newest guests. It's great having him on. We're going to have him on very soon. He's on the stream on Saturday.
Okay.
And yeah, no, it's genuinely been going quite well.
I was going to say, would you say, when's the last time we did things like, ages ago?
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. And I've been meaning to make more content in all forms, but just it's not a lot of time. But do you think your opinions changed on much stuff since we last spoke?
I'm like infinitely more racist. I'm going to be dead honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that part, but it's fine.
It's just that every single day, more animals attacking people. It's like they need to go.
Trying to think. I'm just trying to think which way we want to go with this, because we could go the Civil War way, we could go the Hamas way, we could go which way could we go?
Well, it entirely depends on Rupert. If Rupert's successful, then I'd imagine he would fix a lot of the problems. But if not, then I mean, there's really no choice, and I think the average Joe is probably gonna. I can only see it really going in riots because it's gonna keep happening, and the more it happens, the more pissed off people get.
There it is. Well, I think we could do a pissed off video right now. We just might as well do that. Shit. Might as well show us a pissed off video because we're living in Clown World, aren't we? And we are living in Clown World, and Clown World won't be anything without terrorism. We can't show you wars and things like that. TikTok has definitely made sure I can't do that anymore. Although I'm a guy who looks at war zones and all that stuff, fun things, because I'm such an incel. But there we go. I was going to say, please tell me I got the right thing. No, I do not. Shit. There it is. Have you heard about the Hamas in the UK?
Probably not. No.
Right. So Hamas has the terrorist organization that's fighting the IDF in Israel right now. They have now wanted to sue. Sorry, they want to sue or get the UK government to take their name off the terrorist act that they have in their system. So they're going to the courts, and they've hired lawyers in the UK who are terrorist supporters and hate Jews and support the IRA to defend Hamas and try and get them off the terrorist watch list. That's what it was. So now there's a process happening where Hamas might be taken off the terrorist watch list in the UK.
Average British moment.
Yeah, but I'm about to make you watch this entirely painful clip because this is you're going to see a lot of leftist and Marxist trickery going on here and a lot of how they view the world. And this is the shit that pisses everyone off. So I expect Lazi here to get a little bit annoyed because this is the lawyer who wants to go to the courts or go through the whole thing. I won't play the whole clip, but just the rehash version because the whole thing's on Talk Radio just now. The view of the guy who wants to defend Hamas in court and goes as far as to blame the actual interviewer to say it's his fault if he gets attacked, not the one who's sticking his face out everywhere. So, prepared to get pissed off.
You have told me that you have decided to represent Hamas. They are an unspeakably horrific and dreadful organization.
Oh,
so
you're
yes,
doing it
I am. Yes, I am associating you with them because you've decided to represent them.
Okay, I think you might be hearing from the police. I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like you might. The low point on the Irish side of the Irish Sea is Pat Finucane, of course, right? A British MP stood up in Parliament and said he's just like his clients. Pat Finucane represented members of the Provisional IRA, which is another proscribed organisation. And 3 weeks later, Pat Finucane was, of course, murdered in front of his family by loyalist paramilitaries who we now know had handlers in the British establishment. So you were playing the same. Don't talk over me.
Let's talk about Hamas. I'll talk over if you want to. No, excuse me.
You're playing the same game. You put
I'm not playing any games. I'm not playing any games.
Target on my back.
I'm not putting a target on anybody's back. I am asking you. No, I don't.
You owe me an apology.
No, I don't. I'm asking you why you've decided. Why have you decided to represent Hamas?
Next question.
Am I getting it clear, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you believe that Hamas have a right to use armed force to represent their position?
You keep asking me what I believe, which again is it's not quite as blatant and disgusting as your previous question. But
what's interesting
it's not about
is
what I
that
believe.
Hamas said, well, I mean, you're representing these people and you've chosen to do so. So presumably it has something to do with what you believe.
Do you not understand how the legal system works?
Yes, I do, and I understand that you didn't have to take the case. If I were a lawyer, and if someone came to me, I would say there's not in a million years would I represent Hamas. They are a disgusting, horrendous, anti-Semitic, dreadful terrorist organization. That's what I would say. You didn't say that, and I'm very interested as to why.
Because you're trying to make the story about me instead of this important application because you're not a serious journalist. Is that right?
Yeah, communist barrister, he calls himself.
Yes. So, what do you make of that?
He just started like schizoing out there. Like, what the fuck? You put a target on me back. What you on about?
I know.
If you're not going to answer the question, why go on the news station?
Well, that's the thing. He's going to represent Hamas in whatever form it is. He is one of the. He is, as Mike explained. Thanks for the block, by the way, Mike. Like he did go out his way to support Hamas and says there's nothing wrong in the one day end the Zionist thing, but then he goes on the shows, talk radio being the worst one. I actually didn't show how bad it got because it's a 16-minute piss off video. Like it's not even that far. It's like just above that somewhere. You can watch it yourselves in your own time, people. But 16 minutes of pure rage. That's what it is. But he goes on these shows, he says, you got a target on my back? What, you representing Hamas and showing your face isn't going to fucking do that? You absolute fucking idiot.
He's not the brightest.
He's not, though. He's a Marxist. And I'm like, you absolute fucking idiot.
Bro just wants to play the victim. That's all that is.
Well, they do though, don't they? They like to play the victim and say we're not the bad guys. You are the bad guys because you painted a target on my back, and you're like, you're kidding me? Are you fucking serious? But you're like, no, you can't be serious. It's like, no,
it's ridiculous.
I know. But do you not believe that Hamas needs to be represented?
Oh, I think Hamas did nothing wrong. Up the Hamas. That's what I see.
Aye, up in the way with the rocket up your ass. There we go. Up in the way. But like I say, that video gets a lot worse than it was. That was actually mild. I didn't realize how bad it was. That was actually okay. But he does go as far as to say the journalist shouldn't be asking him about his opinions. I'm like, well, you take the case. In the UK,
when I go on the news and refuse to answer any questions.
Yeah, it would help, twat. But I think we could really go on to not that. That's just a quick thing that happened. Maybe if there was more of us. That's the name of the show. I aim to get a few more people on. Hopefully, I can get more. There's nothing wrong with you, Laz. But
am I not enough for you? Is that what we're learning?
No, it's not. I am trying to make this a financial thing as well. So if this channel gets bigger, we can get more guests on and more things can happen. Because I know I did say I want to start another channel doing like podcast show kind of stuff, but I'm starting to realize now I'm clearly not doing enough to try and get one financial thing, because trying to make this beneficial and actually just, something good, because I want to make good stuff, but I never have enough time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the last time I did a podcast. Sorry, not a podcast. Well, true. When was the last time I did a podcast episode? And then when was the last time I did a live stream? When was the last time I did a YouTube video? This is me shitting on me. And you're like, I'm like, okay, I should really be doing a lot better. And I'm not doing a good enough job for me by not making the content. Right? But then I don't have a lot of time to do it anyway, because I've got a job to deal with and basically not an incel life, but you might as well call it that in a way.
Aye.
But the thing is, I'm not the one who has problems with women. Okay, it's Lazzy here.
Well, now hang on. You say that, but I am very popular among the crippled women. So I actually rebuke that claim.
Ah, the crippled women society.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Right, the crippled women. Right, I have the ones with functioning bodies.
Kringle alert.
Kringle alert. I don't even want to know. But no. But like no, this is just for me to say publicly anyway. Because I always believe in if you don't say it publicly in some social media form, you can't say you've never said it. Even in a way.
Are you a fake cell? Is that what you were finding out now?
Fake cell?
Yeah, you pretend to be an incel, but you're actually not.
Well, I mean, I only thought that because I tried to be social this weekend and everyone has something to do. And this happens every time I do something. Like, I'm like, I want to do something fun. And then something comes around the corner to make sure it doesn't happen.
Aye.
It's so annoying. And all the people I'd like maybe want to do stuff with, they're like, oh, you can't do that. On this, well, you can do that, but you'd be a loner. And I'm like, well, I am sick of doing that. And there is going to be a video coming out in the next few days to explain. The only reason I went to 4 political events last year was because of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I always believe that having friends to do stuff with is a lot better than going yourself to things. Because I've done that way too many times. And it's been fun to watch a concert or go to an event that I wanted to go to. Depends what you like. But like I was saying in the video, I want to do it with people I want to be with. And even if it's a live stream or even if it's something down south, if I do an event, I'm trying to get that far where I can actually do stuff on speaking events if I can. This is like what I'm doing here is just learning how to get over some nerves and do this kind of stuff anyway. And maybe it can get popular enough to where, I don't know, you can actually see my face somewhere else. In a way, I know, it's weird. But I'm just trying to build myself up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've not
I
done
get you.
I've not done enough to make myself better. Like you've been working on your things and that stuff, and that's got where you are. But I've just been posting stuff on the what do you call it, the Instagram, and that's finally getting somewhere now. But it's not as easy, you know. It's like I've got job to deal with, things to deal with, even a show that I joined for the election. You remember I was with you for the election. Then I had another show for the Scottish stuff. The majority, they were probably one of the longest pro UK voices for Scotland. Their show shut down because they've got, well, like me, got jobs and things like this is interfering with that. And this is a hobby for me. This isn't really a job. But if I can make it into a job, then you get a lot more better stuff and a lot more quality and a lot more things. But when this is like your third thing you care about, you don't put as much effort into it.
Yeah, the hierarchy of needs sort of dictate that it doesn't get the attention it needs.
It's true though, isn't it? Though,
yeah,
we've actually all got stuff we need to do. Someone said, "Well, you're in a sort of privilege to be talking about all this stuff." A privilege in a way. I'm like, well, yeah, I suppose so. Because if it was me, I would rather be just making videos about Star Wars or some shite like that. Shite that I like. And I'm like, I'm actually really interested in the politics stuff too, but I also want to like be better, like do better things. If I get asked onto podcast shows, I don't want to look like a complete fucking idiot. which would be ideal, and I don't want to do something too stupid that I'll have to get the police reported to me and all that kind of stuff. Because remember, in Scotland we have hate crime laws, so you can't say anything offensive. And when I reported someone, then bailed it back and said, well, yes, the guy did say something really offensive. And I said, I won't put the charges now. Now my name is into the medical system saying he might make things up.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Scottish police system.
It's not ideal.
No. And so if I do it again, it's basically what we call a clipe up here. You know a clipe?
No, I've never heard that before.
Okay, Scottish term. Basically, snitch.
Ah, right.
Snitch, basically. But there was a guy that said, I hate Muslims, I hate Scots, I hate English, I hate British, and I reported to the police because it was a comment, and this was the same time when the other incident I tried to report happened. That wasn't so bad, because at least the guy's face is on the police's records if he does anything again. So it's not too bad. That was the one where I got 85,000 views. You can look at my own channel in your own time for that one. But I was going to say, I didn't post that 7 hours ago. That's weird. Anyway. Like I say, things happen, and I'm slowly trying to build this up, so hopefully the live streams become a thing. But I think we should go back to the subject that we were on about before. Civil War. Are you okay with time?
It's getting kind of late, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. You want to do 10, 15 minutes and then that's it?
I can do.
That's fine. So, we were on about Civil War before, and I think explained right here in the video is where it started. Explained by David here, who's the guy who started the idea of Civil War in the first place. Like, the idea of Civil War happening in Britain is because of him.
Mm-hmm.
But he is fine enough. So let's go and listen to this. If it
cast in this video. So David Betts said that he first began to notice a problem around Brexit, where the people clearly voted for something, and then the entire political establishment and media as well worked together to make sure it didn't happen. That, he says, was when the alarm bells first began to ring for him. And it was for him the first sign that the government was breaking the social contract and becoming illegitimate.
This actually came to a head for me in the period after the Brexit vote, during the parliamentary shenanigans over how to implement the people's decision on that matter, where the people were consulted on it on a very specific matter of the national will. And it appeared to my mind, as to many others, that the government was doing its best to subvert and otherwise avoid the implications of that decision, which clearly went against their own judgment about what was good for the country, or at any rate, good for themselves.
Brexit was essentially an anti-globalist protest. For many years, the UK was gradually being absorbed into the European Union, which is a globalist project. And increasingly, just a law change here and a law change there, we were becoming governed not by democratically elected leaders in Westminster, but ruled by bureaucrats in Brussels. Now, the Brexit vote said to the world, we don't want that. We want to remain an independent nation state in control of our own destiny. And in that moment, it was shocking to see the entire political establishment mobilize and do everything they could to thwart the democratically expressed will of the British people. David Cameron resigned because he wanted nothing to do with it. Theresa May took over and she tried to water it down to nothing. Deals were made across all the parties to stop it happening. The media fought against it. The peers in the House of Lords fought against it. The deep state fought against it. And I think that was a real wake-up call for many people in Britain. People realized, look, the government is not on your side. They're not working for you. They're working for globalist elites. They're trying to impose a predetermined globalist agenda on the UK. They hoped that you'd go along with it willingly because that would preserve the illusion of democracy. But now you voted against it. That's kind of scuppered their plans. and they're forced to come out into the open and actively and nakedly work against your vote. That was a shock and the beginning of the erosion of the social contract. They then talk in the podcast.
Yeah. So basically, that's what started kicking off the idea of a civil war in the first place. The disillusion between the state and the actual people themselves.
I mean, he's spot on. Brexit was one of was really the genesis of the problems regarding, are we truly a democracy or not? Because at least before that, like, there was the illusion of democracy. So people thought, well, they could at least vote their way out. But now it's very evident that if you vote for the thing that the government doesn't want you to vote for, well, they'll just disregard it.
And it's been over the last few years we've seen an ever and ever more increasing version of that. And we're just now getting so... I think people, like... We never want to say the idea of children... Sorry, no. The idea of... Stupid thing. Sorry. YouTube blasted in my ear. Anyway, yeah. So the idea of civil war just... It sounds so far-fetched, but he does explain in that video there, which I recommend everyone to watch the video that I've just shown there, which is a good illustration, because even he was unsure to make that video, because I would say he's quite liberal, and he thought, oh, fuck, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. Him, the guy who made the video there.
Yeah.
Because the idea of something like that is such a state of mind, especially in the UK. You don't get civil wars in modern Western countries, but that's a reason for that. There's a whole bureaucratic level of control that the governments for a few years now have been able to orchestrate. Like you said, Brexit was basically that one time the establishment was being pushed back by the people that fund their bank accounts, in a way. Because it was interesting at the time when all that kicked off. David Cameron, although I'd say he's the architect of continuing the Labour Blair project, right? He made this very clear to everyone. If you didn't understand when he said it, you're very, very S-word. He said, we're going to deal with two problems at once. We're going to do the Scottish independence one and the Brexit referendum. Right? We're going to deal with both of them. First one happened. Scotland remained in the UK, although the nationalists themselves are still thinking MI6 got involved and Nicola Sturgeon was part of MI5 to make sure independence never happened, and all that. People started looking crazier and crazier and crazier, and they've never accepted a democratic vote. At that same time, Alex Salmond, the leader of the SNP at the time and the pro-independence movement, he quit the party on the day of the loss of the election, right? And then 2016, David Cameron also leaves on the thing he lost in his own election for, or his referendum for. He left, Alex Salmond left, and then there was the bureaucracy, or the cult, of EU lovers continuing to tell everyone for years leaving the EU was a disaster. Absolute disaster. There was nothing good from it, and everything else. There's a pattern here. There's the people and the sheep who want the establishment globalist system to exist and to cause tension, and then there's the people who actually vote and actually want national sovereignty. And want independent states, national sovereignty, and anti-big government telling them what to do. Right?
Yeah.
There's a version of this on both fields, but what I say is different when it comes to the independent stuff is that they actually, as soon as the referendum happened, there was people saying we should have a second vote on day one. So, but they say we must respect democracy. But you shut on it the day that it happened. So, but then
Yeah.
again, you just like, fuck me. But what's worse is all you have to do in Scotland is a bunch of Celtic ethnic nationalists, right? They hate Britain, they hate England, they hate the whole UK thing. They don't see themselves as British because they think that's a label that is stuck on them, but it's on your passport, you fucking idiots. So, there was people at the time who said, there was an MP guy who said, if you remain in the UK, you won't leave the EU. But we all knew at the time, even when we were both younger, this second vote was going to happen. So it wouldn't fucking matter. And they would leave anyway. Like, they would be out of the UK that was in the EU. So they weren't going to get a free pass. And somehow nationalists nowadays think they're more important than Ukraine. Because if they think if they leave the UK now, they will jump ahead of the queue of 16 countries, Ukraine being included, in being part of the EU.
Yeah.
Right. And when it comes to Brexit, I think you mentioned what? No, you're fine. When it comes to Brexit, we had an entire British Westminster establishment going after the said public for what they voted for. So we both had, like, there's ethnic nationalists in their own way, but then you had the opposite, I suppose, the globalist versus the nationalist perspective, like British nationalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of the same, but also wrong at the same time, because we wanted, anyone who voted wanted national sovereignty of Britain, like the thing that we've never like the first time the British population had ever had the chance to get to choose something for their own country. That was the one chance they got. And then they got told they were racist, bigots, and whatever else. Then we left under not such an improved deal. We had to elect a few governments to make sure we could get the, democracy to happen. The first part, because the fact that we didn't get it the first time, where they elect more different people in, multiple people, but multiple elections, and change of leaders because they weren't respecting the vote. People were actively, like the activists were going out making families split apart. This was like savage. Like, this was evil what they were doing. They were making people hate each other on the way they voted. Like, this is stuff that happens in America, not here. But,
yeah.
Right. Sorry, maybe I've gone too far.
No, yeah, that's entirely fine.
But when it came to the deal, we'd only really been out of the EU within a month, and you were seeing things were going good for us, and then COVID hit. And then every single EU Remainer said, look, it was shit. Look how bad it was. Then if you ever ask them, right? If you ever ask them, what happened after we left the EU? Oh, it was just shite. What? You trying to tell me locking down the country for a year didn't do anything?
Yeah. Everything was caused by Brexit to these people.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so we have sheep of the globalist establishment, the decline of people's finances, security, safety, high amounts of immigration, and multiple about things that we could add to this conversation. What else do you think's been added to the conversation about how bad it's gone from, say, COVID onwards?
Well, like you said, it is literally just all they can view is Brexit, because that's like their special interest. It's like the economic collapse from COVID, just disregard that. The mass immigration, just disregard that. The fact that £10 gazillion goes to the NHS every 4 hours, just ignore that. They've tunnel visioned on the one thing they're allowed to criticize and blame for the economy, because everything else they support.
Right. And all these things is making, let's say, the indigenous population, let's use their words, the globalist terms, the difference between government institutions like Westminster, financial sectors, which are located in London, their perspectives to the outside world. Like, you got these elite centers now. It's gone to the place we've got ethnic enclaves in the country, early versions of it. Things that happened in South Africa, that thing, like the places you think weren't better than. But now we're seeing the version of things that could go really savagely, because we mentioned a few things like the Forum not being the right-wing party, and I don't want to take it too far drastically, but I'm going to show you this little quick scene from the Templin Institution about the children of men. Have you ever watched this film?
No.
Very good film, but like Lisa mentioned, for some of these events that happened before, we had people who wanted to support terrorism. There's a chance that could happen in the UK. The everlasting chances of hope, like the Forum UK being a good party, people not believing in the institutions, and things like that. It's making people less hopeful, and we're already seeing early versions of that already. Like, people are like, it doesn't matter what I say, it's all going to go to shit anyway. Right?
Mm-hmm.
People think there's no hope, there's no opportunity, and there will be a point where everyone just gives up. But this is where the violence will kick off, because if something big like a clash happens, well, we might be seeing the ends of civil war, and it will be dirty. And in this film, Children of Men, it's a different thing what's happened in this one, but the idea of what's happened in this world is there's not been children for like 25 years, so everyone's became infertile. But every chance of hope and opportunity has been diminished in the UK. So we see an absolutely run down Britain. And this is all set in London. It's all like that one-shot camera shots that last for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Brilliantly done film. But you might be thinking, if you watch this, you'd be like, holy shit, this looks like now. No. If we keep going on this degrading path, and if things go worse on the outside and nobody wants to help us here, this is how far things are going to go. Because the institution is the United Kingdom government.
As the sound of the playgrounds faded, the despair set in. There was no explanation for what caused the mass infertility of the human species, but as birth rates declined, the effect on society was catastrophic. Without hope for a future, civil society broke down. Governments collapsed, and a vast migration of refugees threatened the few nations that endured. Russian nuclear attacks annihilated vast swaths of Central Asia. Civil war in the United States saw New York similarly destroyed in atomic fire. Violence spread and escalated while fallout poisoned millions across Africa and Asia. In 2027, only the United Kingdom remains, a last fortress of stability in a crumbling world. As a matter of policy, the British government has attempted to project an image of cohesion and continuity to maintain national morale. Officially, it remains a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy, albeit one currently under a prolonged state of emergency. The public image of the royal family has been maintained, with King Charles III as the head of state of the United Kingdom, its crown dependencies, and British overseas territories. Yet, the imminent population collapse and extinction of the human species has in effect created a new British state. Its authority is limited to Great Britain alone, with no means of exercising its sovereignty within even its former possessions in Ireland or the rest of the world. The United Kingdom as it exists today is an authoritarian police state, with political control exerted by security forces that operate outside the boundaries its constitution would normally impose. Its sole national aim is to preserve civil society for as long as possible before its inevitable collapse. This is largely for the benefit of an upper tier of elites who maintain a luxurious lifestyle within special government sectors. During the early years of the infertility crisis, government officials and ministers within this privileged group additionally attempted to make the United Kingdom a last repository for human culture and achievement. One of the largest government projects was the Ark of the Arts, in which seminal works were seized from the world's remaining museums, so they might be preserved on British soil. Thousands of pieces of priceless aesthetic value were saved from destruction, and today grace the homes of British elites. The remainder of the United Kingdom's population exists within varying levels of squalor. Rapidly deteriorating infrastructure and public services have left every major city affected by mass decrepitude. Basic utilities are subject to intermittent failure, with garbage collection services and waste management suspended entirely. With dwindling food supplies, a basic ration is allotted to every British citizen, one that includes antidepressants and quietus, an assisted suicide pill. Public religious services have grown especially prevalent, with groups such as the Repenters and Renouncers kneeling for months at a time, or flagellating themselves as a means of begging for forgiveness. To maintain security within these urban centers, neighborhoods and civic infrastructure are organized into a series of security zones. Depending on the severity of the zone's restrictions, identification and travel documents might be required to enter, while some are completely closed to the public. During states of heightened alert, temporary lockdowns might be established over problematic areas, and those within subjected to overwhelming force and suspended civil liberties. The principal target of these heightened measures are refugees and illegal immigrants, derogatorily referred to as fugees. With the remainder of the world in complete chaos, millions have attempted to escape to Britain, necessitating the controversial Homeland Security Bill that has completely sealed the UK's border for 8 years. Any who make it into the country are systematically hunted down and forcefully removed from British territory. Numerous coastal cities and communities have been walled.
So I'm going to stop that there because that was quite depressing. Now, you might call that based, but...
Well, I mean, I didn't want to say it on stream.
No, but what would you... I was... Yeah. I don't want to be too negative, but that was quite hard. That felt a bit, didn't it?
Aye. Bit miserable, you know.
It is, but... Because that's right there is one of your coastal towns. Turned into a refugee centre. Every single one of those coastal towns, like Devon, Cornwall, is that coastal town?
Probably.
Like Liverpool, all those ones.
Aye.
Made into concentration refugee camps. Like the fact these areas had to be moved out from the original population and that kind of things happen is just like fucking hell. But sorry for showing it, but I'm like, things will get so much fucking worse because put it back a bit. There we go. That looks nice. There we go. You might want to watch the film, people, Laz, as well, because despite being such a very good film, this might actually be how things go in the future. Because this is the version of mass deportations that are absolutely horrific. But the question is, how far are we willing to let the country go before you start waking up?
And I think that is the question, really. How bad are things going to get before people act?
Because this, what I've displayed to you people, is the worst version of it. The worst. The extent that it goes. You don't want it to be like this. You really don't. But is there an opportunity where we can wake up or do something beforehand? Because there is a civil war in here with groups in that as well. So the state's gonna hit down a lot harder. But then again, this is for another show. But sorry for making that negative. But it all leads to our point at the end. Because I'm working on this film and Years, which is a BBC thing, which, oh my God, they couldn't have predicted things more light if they can. All you had to do was just be stupid, and it all comes true. It is. The only thing that didn't happen was Donald Trump nuking China before he left office.
Well, no, we've still got time.
No, I mean, it happened in 2016, man. It had to happen then. But they predicted the Ukraine war, and they were the refugees we didn't like. They were the refugees we didn't like, and I'm like, oh, you got that long continent, shit. But like I say, what we didn't talk about's been good tonight. Good the start of the conversation. So I'll let you talk.
No. Yeah, it's been very interesting conversation. I'm just really enjoying looking at the black people in cages.
God damn it!
It's like going to the zoo and you see the gorillas. It's like you know, like you just like do a dance and you kind of hope to do a dance.
Fuck's sake! I mean,
well, we can't end on such a black pilling note, can we?
No, we'll just let the video play in the background because. I mean, the thing is, there's hope in this film as well, but it's for a different reason, obviously. But for the black girl being pregnant, of all things, because it's quite good. But yeah, things can get better, people. But the thing is, what state do people have to go in before things get to this level of stage? Like, this is the refugee camp, by the way, where you've just literally got any fucker there. These are the cannibals who hunt down anyone who can because they're just sick of everything. Terrorist groups and all that kind of stuff. Like, just living on the edge of what they can count as freedom. Nobody gives a shit. Like, this is the refugee camp. We've seen versions of this in the UK already without the horses and the guns. And this is the kind of thing the light's been advocating for. Like here on the screen. So, but I have to say that's a base poster at the back, Jobs for Blitz. But yeah, like I say, things can get better, but the thing is, people need to wake up to see what the alternative and what the future can offer. But I'm just worried about could be the possibility of the future.
Aye.
So without any further ado, I think I'll end everyone on the last notes here. I'm Here He Goes Again. If you want to watch anything I do, follow me on my social media accounts. You've seen my X, my Instagram. My Instagram's the one where I do most of my work on. And I am eventually making more content on, say, TikTok in that because they deleted the old TikTok before showing Andrew Tate. But hopefully we can get something going here with a community of people, which I know everyone here is from Paz45 and some new people as well from Simon Says. So I thank you guys for subscribing to the channel still, and hopefully we can get some more people here. Laz.
Shout out to Mossad. I love my funding. I am Project Razmataz. That's Project with a K, the Germanic way, because I don't like me Normans. Like I said, check out my channel. Watch the Crippled Women Appreciation Organization. Link in the description. And that's about it.
Okay. Without any further ado, I think that'll be it. So, thank you everyone for watching this channel, and we will see you later. Thank you.